Greetings, comrades. Welcome to All Power to the People podcast on Grown Folks Talking, Express Yourself Internet Radio via the Huddle Team app. We meet every Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. We discuss local, national, and global events that impact the material conditions of the people and provide viable solutions. We are here to find those tired of the way their lives are socially constructed. As Panthers, we use dialectic materialism. As Dr. Huey P. Newton stated, power is the ability to define phenomena and make it act in a desired manner. From combating the housing crisis to police patrols, we are the vanguard in place to serve our communities. The purpose of this program is to highlight contradictions in the electoral process, which Western culture calls politics. Politics is the struggle for resources. Participating in America's electoral process has only taken resources from the people and handed it to the oligarchs and the professional managerial class that serve them by maintaining the status quo through coercion. We know that power lies with the people, and it is our duty to organize and educate the community so that they can fight for their own liberation. So please, join us every Sunday at 12 p.m. You can join by downloading the Huddle Team app, join online, or call in. The app and joining online is free, but if you call in, standard messaging rates may apply. Links to the show will be provided in the caption. This is General Secretary Patience of the new African Black Panther Party, NABPP North. All power to the people.
I'll be having conversation with people, and they'll be like, so what do we do? What is our option? How do we change our material conditions? How do we change the reality around us? And I mean, you can't do that. This is from our food program. I mean, so that's why I'm starting off like this to show everybody that the things that you could do in the community. As Panthers, we come together in North to get this food to go out and give to the families that are starving. We all know, if we live in these communities, we know how hard times are. We're all going through it. We eat this same food too. We take the food in our home and we put them in our bellies. This is our during the school year, all year round. We don't have enough money to go build a school to be able to bring in all these children and stuff. We don't have all of that. But we can create an after-school program. And this is one of the ways we bring the kids in with the after-school program so they could come in for us to give them that knowledge to teach them and try to help guide them through this reality, through this world. You say they teach you about 9/11 in school?
Yeah.
What did they teach you about 9/11? Why did the plane hit the buildings? You got to say it loud enough so I can hear you.
The Muslim airjacked the plane and then they crashed shit into the Twin Towers.
That's what they taught you, that the Muslims hijacked the plane? That's okay. That's okay. Relax. But why did they crash into the Twin Towers? They didn't. Anybody? Hey, what you were saying, Major? Hold up. Let Major speak. What you say, Major?
Other plane and it was more hijackers on the other plane and they crashed into that.
But why did they crash into the Twin Towers? So they crashed into the Twin Towers to go to New York. They died to go to New York.
They wanted to go. Hijackers wanted to go.
But they crashed into the Twin Towers. They wanted to go land in New York, but they crashed into the Twin Towers. So anybody else got something to add? Archie, you got something to add? What you want to add?
Jackson, then they crashed into different places.
That's it? So nobody can tell me why the planes crashed? Why the planes did that? Nobody can tell me? But don't you think the school should tell you why?
Yeah.
So, like, if the school not telling you why, what does that mean?
They keep it secret.
Wow.
Gatekeeping.
Whoa, where you get gatekeeping from, bro? But where you learn that at? You say me? You burnt out, yo. You burnt out. Nah, but the reason why they crashed into the Twin Towers is because the American government, America was going to their country, taking their natural resources, stealing their stuff, killing their people. So they got mad. They stole a plane and they came and crashed it on the World Trade Center to get back at America. That's why they did it.
So it wasn't two planes?
No, it wasn't one plane. I think it was 2 or 3. Was it? I think it was one. No, I think there was one in D.C. and there was one in Philly or something like that. That they. Yeah. Huh?
And I basically got to break that.
There was Twin Towers, and then another one tried to crash into the place that Trump lives in.
The Trump Tower?
I see that too.
Ain't no plane trying to go to the Trump Tower. The White House? Did the plane try to go to the White House?
Pentagon.
One went to the Pentagon. But these people be lying. The media be lying. The politicians be lying. So you never know what's true. But while they really did it, they said because America was going over to their countries, they were killing their people, they were taking their resources, and they were putting military bases in their country. So that's why they did it. I mean, that's why they went over there and did it. So they call that blowback. Like when you go to another country and you do stuff to them, and then they come back over here and do something, like they call that blowback. It's like get back. Yeah, it's like get back.
So imagine another country.
You said they should have did more? Then we going to die. If they knew, because we going to die. I don't want to die.
What if we wasn't alive at that time?
But we're going to continue this later, y'all. I'm going to holler at y'all. We're going to continue later.
This is our summer basketball camp. It's going on right now. Every day from 9 to 1. We have this basketball camp that that the kids come out. Yo, it's all about organizing and finding ways to bring people out, bring the children out to be able to organize them. I mean, when you're doing these things to bring the children in, to bring the community in, yo, you got to be serious. You can't be playing around with this. Yo, like when the kids come here, at the end of the summer, they're stronger, they're faster, they're quicker, and they know more about the game, about the sport than they did before. You know, we watch their minds develop every day. While we're talking about Pantherism, what do we do? What are the solutions? Yo, there's solutions here. I mean, the solutions is organizing our own community, creating an economic base where we can be able to feed ourselves, take care of ourselves without having to bow down to somebody else, without having to beg somebody else for our humanity. Yo, I refuse to go beg anybody to give me humanity. I will take my humanity by force. I understand I am not free. We understand we are not free as Panthers. There's no doubt in our mind if we are free or not. And you cannot hold anybody that's under oppression, that's under neocolonialism, responsible for how their life turned out, because they control no institution. I mean, I often hear people say, like, the drug dealers, the worst thing in our community is drug dealers, because they're stupid. They're ignorant. They haven't educated themselves to understand the world around them. So they just open their mouth and regurgitate whatever they heard somebody else say. You're a fool if you believe anything out here is your fault or our fault. Seriously. And I'm telling you, I work with the community all day and all night, and I know how ignorant the community can be. But I don't blame the people for the conditions they find themselves in. They have nothing to do with how anything is done materially in this world. They're just bystanders. The people that I hold accountable is those that know, the intellectuals. That's supposed to know better, but continue to usher our people into institutions of white supremacy, of imperialism, that will continue to exploit us. Tell our people to go vote. What are you voting for? I mean, who are you voting for? Who do they serve? They don't serve the people. They won't serve the people, or they won't survive in those institutions.
Get your phone. Myself. What's your stuff? Get some from. Get some. Let me see. Hold it out, Bobby. Mira. Hold it out. Let me see. Yeah. Hold it up. You got it? You like it? There we go. You're welcome. What's your name? What position you play? Oh, a pitcher. You're a pitcher. There's children out here?
I'm just watching.
Oh, you just watching? You just watching too? My name Afrikan. Afrikan. Yeah, the continent. Yeah, continent. Hold up. Huh? Yeah. I'll come every year. I'll bring more stuff. I'll come. I'll bring everything every year. Yeah, we just started. We're coming with the organization. The organization, the
Black Panther
Party. So the Black Panther Party. So look, no politician, no rich person will take care of us. The only people that are going to take care of us is us. If we understand that, that's all we need to do is take care of each other. We're going to be good. Yeah. So you notice how all the companies, all the stores is owned by the gringos, Canada, Switzerland. We need to own it. We need to own everything so sure. You need to own stuff so sure. You need to own Bailey. You need to own Roomba. Yeah, we need to own all of that shit, not nobody else. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, man. But that's why I'm here. Everything we do is free. Everything is free. You don't pay. Yeah, you don't pay for nothing. I mean, this is my guy. He's my guy too. You know, yeah, this is my guy. He helped me out down here. I've been with the company for about 7 years, but it's been here since 1969. I'm the leader of the company. I'm the leader now of the organization. Yeah. So we come down. He's gonna be down here working down here in the organization for me. Yeah, he's gonna be here working here. Yeah, water flood everywhere. I go everywhere. I stay in. So you want to help me do this in Puerto Plata? I'm about to cut off the camera and I'm about to take your number. We're going to do the same thing. You know, the person that run the baseball, he helping me too. Man, what's your name, man? Tell them your name, man.
My name is Brian. I'm teacher of natural science.
Natural science? Oh, my God. I'm hitting a home run everywhere I go, man. Papi, mira. Good? You good? There we go. Biology? My God. Welcome to All Power to the People on Grown Folks Talk and Express Yourself. Hey, we come here every Sunday. It's like church. We come here every Sunday to figure out how we're going to change the material conditions outside our windows in our communities. We go back, we read revolutionaries, we read luminaries, and we try to figure out what we do in the community to change the conditions, like I said. Because the first step of revolutionary is to be educated. I didn't even go through all these videos. I didn't even play all these videos, and my screen keeps freezing. But let me play this one right here before I even get to it.
What program?
This is David Hilliard. He's being interviewed. I think this is like the late 60s.
You have and feeding children and so forth. I'm sure that everyone will agree that children should be fed. Children don't have food, and people who don't have medical aid should be given medical aid and so forth. But don't you provide an indoctrination also with the food, that the children are being indoctrinated into your philosophy and so forth, that when they grow up they'll be big Panthers?
What you call indoctrination, we call education. I tell you,
let me stop it right there, because you see what he just asked him. Like, all the food that you're giving out, all the resources you're giving out, are you not also indoctrinating those children so when they get older they could become big Panthers? There's a lot of discussions in the community saying that people shouldn't become Panthers. They should come up with their own name or how to behave. Because these people like political education. They really don't understand how any of this works. I mean, the reason why they do the charity, the breakfast food program, all of this, is to serve the community, to bring them in, to organize them. Once you bring them in, you're teaching them Pantherism. You're teaching them the skills and the mindset that they need to be able to survive this society, to survive what's going on outside their own windows. That's the whole point of trying to bring people in. Nobody's here. The Panthers were not here to just give out food, free food for nothing, for no purpose. They were just out here giving out free food for just to give it out for charity. The Panthers are not a charity organization. We are a liberation. We fight for liberation. We're not here for charity. So when you're giving out breakfast, you're doing that to bring them in, to organize them.
Indoctrinated when you tell them to pick up a gun and go 10,000 miles and shoot somebody that never even called them nigger. What we do is educate them. We educate them to their own environment. We don't educate them about historians that are completely rejected, or completely removed from their environment. We educate those people and those young people about the conditions in their community. We show them very physically the conditions in the white mother country, as sometimes referred to, and the situation in the black community. We show them and we point out to them the evildoers and the lawbreakers supposedly manifested in the peace officers. And we show them very concrete and real contradictions, but we do not indoctrinate them, we educate them.
This is our, this is our, during the school year. So this is us now. This is in 2026. We're in 2026 now. This is what we're doing now. So like you could say everything that we're doing is to indoctrinate. Or is it really to teach our children their purpose why they're here?
All year round. We don't have enough money to go build a school to be able to bring in all these children and stuff. We don't have all of that. But we can create an after-school program. And this is one of the ways we bring the kids in with the after-school program so they can come in for us to give them that knowledge, to teach them, and try to help guide them through this reality, through this world.
Yeah, you say they teach you about 9/11 in school?
Yeah.
What did they teach you about 9/11? Why did the plane hit the buildings? You got to say it loud enough so I can hear you.
The Muslim airjacked the plane and then they crashed shit into the Twin Towers.
Like you heard what he said? Because the Muslims hijacked the plane and they drove them into the Twin Towers. See, that's what he was talking about. That's what David Healy was talking about. You have to educate these kids. You have to educate our children to teach them the decadent world that they're part of, so they don't grow up thinking like this, that the Muslims did it. No, it wasn't the Muslims. It has nothing to do with religion. I mean, you have to educate our children, because if we don't educate them, we don't teach them, then what's going to happen? The society at large is going to educate and teach them, and you hear what it's teaching them, that the Muslims did it. This is what the government, this is what our school system taught them. That stuff didn't just pop in his head. I mean, but that's what we do here as Panthers. This is the comrade, little Panther cub. He's reading the Black Panther Party, a kid's book. Look, if you want to help out with the work that we're doing here, you could purchase this stuff. You could get the kids' book to have your kids, your grandkids. Well, we're in Black History Month. We got the Black Panther hoodies over here. I got one on myself. I mean, you could purchase this stuff. The money that we get from this is how we pay for everything. There's nobody funding us. Us, those of us in the organization, we go to work, we work on the plantation, and we take our money to fund everything we're doing. The after-school program, the activities, the sports, the food, the housing program, everything, the pig patrol, everything we do in the community, we fund it ourselves. There's no boogeyman, there's nobody here, there's no Epstein, there's nobody here giving us anything. Because when they start giving it to you, they expect something from you. Then a few years later, you find yourself in some email. But listen to the little comrade right here.
FBI labeled the Black Panther Party the greatest threat to the internal security of the country. The FBI goal was to break up the party from within. The FBI operation was called COINTELPRO. They used spies and informants into the party to get information about the party. They also spread lies about the party members, causing infighting among the group. The police were encouraged to harass and assault Black Panther Party members. As a result, the party faced many trials in court. A lot of members were arrested and put in jail.
Who they talking to? We want free.
Yeah, that was Jazir. This is the little homie Barry. Barry in the 3rd grade. I think he's in the 3rd grade, right, Captain Patience? Barry in the 3rd grade. Yo, he different. He different funny. Barry real funny, man.
We want immediate end to police brutality. We want immediate end to all wars. We want our people free from all jails. We want land, bread, housing, education, clothes, justice, peace, and the control of modern technology.
My boy Barry burnt out. But no, this is what we teach them. This is some of the stuff that we teach them. That he was reading from the 10-point program, the 10-point plan. What as Panthers, what we're saying we demand in our communities. He was reading some of it. So at this age, if he's reading it from now till he grow up,
till you become a full adult. You cannot walk away from this thing that you've learned. See, most of us, we don't learn none of this. Nobody teaches us. Nobody makes us understand it. But our goal, our purpose is to make sure the next generation has all this information. And then 20, 30 years from now, 40, 50 years from now, whatever, Barry is a Panther, and he's doing the same thing in the community. And then people walk up and tell him, yo, go get another name. Go get another name. Change your name from Panther. Do something else. Yo, it would seem asinine, don't you think? Think about it for a second. And what was the word he used? What was the word that interview you just now, General Secretary?
The interviewer?
Yeah. He said he was doing something. Like not brainwashing.
Oh, indoctrination.
Indoctrination. You were saying it's indoctrination. How is this indoctrination? This is only teaching them the society that they're in. Teaching them about the FBI, how the FBI targeted the Black Panther Party. Like, if they don't know, they have no institutional memory. It's really elementary. It's really quite simple. It's not that hard.
Party the greatest threat to the internal security of the country. The FBI goal was to break up the party from within. The FBI operation was called COINTELPRO. They used spies and informants into the party to get information about the party. They also spread lies about the party members, causing infighting among the group. The police were encouraged to harass and assault Black Panther Party members. As a result, the party faced many trials in court. A lot of members were arrested and put in jail.
All right, so now we're about to jump into, like, I wanted to show you that because, like, people need to understand what we're doing. Every day, this is a way of life. This is our life. We serve the people. We serve the community. Those kids that you see in reading, we started the after-school program because they say the children are reading at a 5%, doing math at a 6% proficiency. That's not even good. That's just like, I don't even know what that is. Because it doesn't even mean you could read. It just means like you did. But like that's what they said. That's the result. When they did the test, they did a whole study in the schools, and this is what they found out: the kids are not passing no tests, they're not doing nothing. So what do? What are we supposed to do in the community? Do you go try to get the teachers to teach them better? Do you get the administration to come up with a new curriculum? Or everything has been tried already by the community? Or do you do it yourself? Does the community do it themselves? We believe the only solution is the community doing it themselves because the schools have failed us every year for the last 100, 60, 80, 200 years. The schools have failed us consistently. They're consistent failures. So there's no need to send our children to these public schools no more. So what we need to do is take over the molding process. And we need to do it ourselves. So that's what we do. We have the after-school program. We have the reading. We have all of these things. We doing it ourselves. Nobody's paying us. The government not paying us. Nobody's giving us a dime. We're building models to show the community it can be done. We don't need nobody to come pay us to do any of these things we're doing. The community can do it themselves. But for so long, they've been preaching to us. They've been telling us the only way to do this thing is by going through these channels. These channels that have been created and maintained by our oppressors. By the people that are oppressing us, gentrifying us, kicking out of our homes, segregating us. These are the people that came up with all these institutions, that modeled all these institutions that we partake in. So as Panthers, we say build your own institutions, dual contending power. Let's see which one the people going to go to. The ones that we create or the ones that our oppressors create. But for the last couple of weeks, we've been reading W.E.B. Du Bois, The Philadelphia Negro. And we're trying to see the conditions of black folks then, like how you compare and contrast that to today. What do we need to change the conditions? What did they do back then? What were the strategies back then? I'm going to go right into it. In this one, he's talking about the church. It's a continuation from last week. He's talking about the church and how the church functions in the community. So let me let him talk.
The Philadelphia Negro, Chapter 12, Section 33. The present condition of the churches. The 2,441 families of the 7th Ward were distributed among the various denominations. in 1896 as follows. Probably half of the unconnected and unknown habitually attend church. In the city at large, the Methodists have a decided majority, followed by the Baptists, and further behind, the Episcopalians. Starting with the Methodists, we find three bodies: the African Methodist Episcopal, founded by Allen; the AME Zion, which sprung from a succession of Negroes from white churches in New York in the 18th century; and the ME Church, consisting of colored churches belonging to the white Methodist Church, like Zoar. The AME Church is the largest body and had, in 1897, 14 churches and missions in the city, with a total membership of 3,210 and 13 church edifices seating 6,117 persons. These churches collected during the year $27,074.13. Their property is valued at $202,229, on which there is a mortgage indebtedness of $30,000 to $50,000. Detailed statistics are given in the table on the next page. These churches are pretty well organized and are conducted with vim and enthusiasm. This arises largely from their system. Their bishops have been, in some instances, men of piety and ability, like the late Daniel A. Payne. In other cases, they have fallen far below the standard, but they have always been men of great influence and had a genius for leadership, else they would not have been bishops. They have large powers of appointment and removal in the case of pastors, and thus each pastor, working under the eye of an inspiring chief, strains every nerve to make his church a successful organization. The bishop is aided by several presiding elders, who are traveling inspectors and preachers, and give advice as to appointments. This system results in great unity and power. The purely spiritual aims of the church, to be sure, suffer somewhat, but after all, this peculiar organism is more than a church. It is a government of men.
All power to the people. Listen to that. Say, like most people, when you say government in people's minds, when you say government, they're thinking about like City Hall. They're thinking about the White House. They're thinking about all these social constructs that we have in our mind of what a government is. But what he just said, the church functioned as the first government to our people. Because the government is where the people went, and these spaces were supposed to handle the business of the people. They were supposed to take care of the people. And who did they talk about? Who did they say was one of the first members someday? Something Daniel A. Payne. Now who is he? Daniel Alexander Payne, February 24th, 1811, November 2nd, 1893. So he died like 3, 4, 5 years before he wrote this book. Was an American bishop, educator, college administrator, and author. So when you hear that, when you hear those qualifications that he come with, in what was it? 1811 he was born. From the 1800s, thinking back then, what kind of black person in that time would have those qualifications? You got to put on your sociological imagination. I mean, like, you got to understand. You got to, like, is a slave going to come with these credentials? How do you get these credentials? But let me keep reading. A major shaper of the African Methodist Episcopal Church, Payne stressed education and preparation of ministers and introduced more order in church, becoming its sixth bishop and serving for more than 4 decades, 1852 to 1893, as well as becoming one of the founders of Wilberforce University in Ohio in 1856. In 1863, the AME Church bought the college and chose Payne to lead it. AME Church, they bought the college and chose Payne to lead the church. Who bought it? He became the first African-American president of a college in the United States and served in the position until 1877. Yeah. By quickly
organizing AME missionary support of freedmen in the South after the Civil War. Remember what I said, freedmen. These were the freed black people. Because everybody in their mind, they like to think all black people were slaves. All black people were under the thumb of this system. We're being oppressed. We're in the field getting whipped. Yo, it wasn't like that. You had black people that owned slaves. And this is the first time I'm going to say it this show. Yo, our problem, our struggle is a class struggle. They like to confuse us with race. And nobody's saying there's no racism here. Just like nobody's saying there's no patriarchy. Just like nobody's saying homosexuals, gay people don't deal with issues, don't have their own oppressive, whatever. Nobody's saying none of that. Our issue, our struggle, it's a class struggle, God damn it. That's what Fred Hampton said. These are the people that we follow. And they're saying our enemy is imperialism. Our issue is class. Once you deal with that, you'll be able to deal with all the other social stratifications. But if you don't deal with imperialism first, you can't deal with nothing. But the person I was just reading just now, that bishop they was talking about, think about that for a minute. Like if I go on to read about his bio, somewhere in there, a slave master raped his whatever, and he got white blood in him, whatever. Like that's how he became. He was an elite black person. He wasn't from the people. He wasn't one of the masses. Like if I go through the reader's bio, you hear all the schools he went through. The average Negro on the plantation wasn't going through none of that. And that's who we are. We are the ones on the plantation. Like Malcolm told you, I'm a field nigga. Malcolm X told you that. We're in the field. We're not in the house. We're not freedmen. We're the masses. I don't care if you black, you white, you Puerto Rican or Haitian. Whatever you are, the masses of us are on the field. We're picking cotton in the field. We're working 2-3 jobs to try to survive. People like Payne don't speak for me, don't speak for us. People like Du Bois didn't speak for us either. But these were the people that were given the platform. And they were given the platform and paid to be able to direct and control how we moved as a people, influence the masses of us. And every time I read, they drop a name, they tell me about somebody, I go back and go look, to go read about them. And every time you read about them, they're from the elite class. They're never from us. The people that are from us are dead. They kill them. Those are like the Nat Turners. But let me continue. I'm going to try not to stop it that much because I want to get through this and get to the next part we're talking about.
One moment, Chairman. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Reading this book, I just came to a realization. Anybody that W.E.B. Du Bois praises, he's automatically an enemy of the people. So that's how I'm reading his words moving forward, because his judgment of what good Negroes are is basically the bourgeoisie class, the black misleadership class, and the people that assimilate into this capitalist, well, back then, slavery / quasi freedom of black people, however they want to call it back then. But yeah, he's not a good judge of character, and obviously it's because of the lenses he's coming from and because of the people that are paying him.
All power to the people, because he's compromised. Hey, if you see anybody put their hand up, let me know. Hey, look, this is interactive. This is not just me speaking. Everybody can speak here. I can see the hands over here, General Secretary. So if somebody if somebody put their hand up, let me know. Or you could just cut in, like we're having a conversation, and you just cut in if you have a disagreement or if you have something you want to point out. But so far, just now when I stopped, the last thing he was talking about was how these churches were like the government, our own governments.
The headquarters of the AME Church are in Philadelphia. Their publishing house at 7th and Pine publishes a weekly paper and a quarterly review, besides some books such as hymnals, church discipline, short treatises, leaflets, and the like. The receipts of this establishment in 1897 were $16,058.26, and its expenditures $14,119.15. Its total outfit and property is valued at $45,513.64, with an indebtedness of $14,513.64. An Episcopal residence for the Bishop of the district has recently been purchased on Belmont Avenue. The Philadelphia Conference dispersed from the General Church Fund in 1897 $985 to superannuated ministers and $375 to widows of ministers. 2 or 3 women missionaries visited the sick during the year, and some committees of the Ladies Mission Society worked to secure orphans' homes. Thus, throughout the work of this church, there is much evidence of enthusiasm and persistent progress. There are 3 churches in the city representing the AME Zion Connection. They are. No detailed statistics of these churches are available. The last 2 are small. The first one is of the largest and most popular in the city. The pastor receives $1,500 a year, and the total income of the church is between $4,000 and $5,000. It does considerable charitable work among its aged members and supports a large sick and death benefit society. Its property is worth at least $25,000. 2 other Methodist churches of different denominations are Grace UAME, Lombard Street, above 15th. St. Matthew Methodist, Protestant, 58th and Vine Street. Both these churches are small, although the first has a valuable piece of property. The Methodist Episcopal Church has 6 organizations in the city among the Negroes. They own church property valued at $53,700, have a total membership of 1,202, and an income of $16,394 in 1897. Of this total income, $1,235, or 7.5%, was given for benevolent enterprises. These churches are quiet and well conducted, and although not among the most popular churches, have nevertheless a membership of old and respected citizens. There were in 1896 17 Baptist churches in Philadelphia, holding property valued at more than $300,000, having 6,000 members, and an annual income of probably $30,000 to $35,000.
I needed to listen to this. I hope you're paying attention. We're not in the classroom where, like, when I put the audio on, everybody just start paying attention and go somewhere else with their mind. Pay attention to these figures, these numbers that they're dropping, because in today's time, it will be millions of dollars, billions of dollars that these institutions, these churches had. The numbers, the people that they had. This was in the 1800s. Because when people say we can't organize our communities, we don't organize our communities. We're not organized. We're this, we're that. There's evidence here that we have been organized all the way going back hundreds of years. It's what we are organized to do. What our organized purpose is. That's the problem. So I need you to listen. Listen to all what they had, all the property they had, all the rich black people they had back then, all the free black people. That boy Allen was the 6th bishop. He was born in 1811. Free. He was born to free parents. He was born to an elite class that afforded them the ability to go to all those schools. They built the church with all this money and all this stuff they had, but yet couldn't organize the people to liberate themselves. All of that is important to listen to understand, to take in.
One of the largest churches has in the last 5 years raised between $17,000 and $18,000. The Baptists are strong in Philadelphia and own many large and attractive churches, such as, for instance, the Union Baptist Church on 12th Street, Zion Baptist in the northern part of the city, Monumental in West Philadelphia, and the staid and respectable Cherry Street Church. These churches, as a rule, have large membership. They are, however, quite different in spirit and method from the Methodists. They lack organization and are not so well managed as business institutions.
As what? They're not well managed as what? As business institutions. Because the church is like the Democratic Party, like the Republican Party. They have donors. They have donors, people that fund them. And there's people here that's been to church, that have been going to church their whole life. The people that give the most amount of money to the church, that's who the church really serve. Like, this is not hard. This is nothing. It's really not hard if you think about it, if you pay attention. The church is just like any of these political parties. And whoever give them the most amount of money, whoever donate the most amount of money, that's who they serve. Whether you're an individual, whether you're a politician, celebrity, whoever gives them the most amount of money, that's who they serve. Because at the end of the day, they are a business. They're not in the business of saving people. They're in the business of making money. The pastor, everybody, the church, they're in the business of making money. And if you don't understand that, you're lost. You'll be lost in your analysis. Because at the end of the day, the church is a business.
From the Methodist Chairman organization, and are not only is it a business, it's also a political organization, even though we're supposed to have separation of church and state. You have these pastors, little-known pastors like, I don't know, pick any pastor from North New Jersey, and pastors like Al Sharpton that goes on your pulpit and be foot soldiers for the Democratic Party. And in churches in North, they bring up every election cycle because, the mayor owns all the churches. Every Sunday, you will see him or his political operative or somebody he's supporting on a pulpit where the preacher is telling his congregation that they must get rid of Trump and support people like this. So I just disagree with you a little bit. It is a political organization.
No. Like, you don't disagree with me. I agree with you. What you talking about? No, it is political. Because you go to the white churches, they're doing the same thing. They tell you to go vote for Trump. You come in the hood, these these political operatives that act like church people, they're trying to get their people to go vote for what? Democrats. They got the buses. They bus people to the voting booth. It's a business. They're in the business of herding people into these two corporations that call themselves parties. They're political operatives. These churches are political operatives. That's why they're tax exempt. That's why the government favors them. They're here. They play a role in the society. And I'm a historian by trade. If you go back and look in history, all the churches, all the religions are always in bed with the ruling power. Because this is how you maintain, the status quo.
So well managed as business institutions. Consequently, statistics of their work are very hard to obtain, and indeed, in many cases, do not even exist for individual churches. On the other hand, the Baptists are peculiarly clannish and loyal to their organization, keep their pastors a long time, and thus each church gains an individuality not noticed in Methodist churches. If the pastor is strong, upright character, his influence for good is marked. At the same time, the Baptists have in their ranks a large percentage of illiteracy than probably any other church, and it is often possible for an inferior man to hold a large church for years and allow it to stagnate and retrograde. The Baptist policy is extreme democracy applied to church affairs, and no wonder that this often results in a pernicious dictatorship. While many of the Baptist pastors of Philadelphia are men of ability and education, the general average is below that of the other churches. In fact, due principally to the ease with which one can enter the Baptist ministry.
You hear that? With ease in which one can enter. So to be like the dude, what was his name? What was the guy's name, man? Alan A. Alexander, whatever his name was just now. Daniel. It was just like Daniel. Daniel didn't just come in there and just became bishop and just start running things, just become a leader in the community. There's a process in how you get in there. Number one, that church that's put there in that community, wherever the community is, that church that's put there is funded by the white money. The white people that was enslaving the black people back then, by the capitalists, the oligarchs, they fund that church. They decide who becomes bishop, who goes to that church. Ain't nobody, you can't just get up and you just like, yeah, I'm a slave on the plantation, but yeah, I'm about to become the bishop. For you to become the bishop of the church, for you to run the church, AME, like they all got their different names, but they all belong to one a corporation or a white man or whatever. To work in them, to be a leader in them, to lead people in them, they gotta co-sign you for you to be in there. You don't just get up and just go in there. It doesn't work like that. Just like today, by and large, it's who you know. That's how you get into any space. What is your social credibility? I don't think it's 2026. I don't think it's too many people walking around here thinking they're going to get anything off their hard work. You can work hard. You can work hard as hell. Excuse me. If you don't know anybody, if you don't have no connections, you're just going to be working hard. Or if you don't bend to the status quo, you don't bend to what those in power want you to do, how they want you to move, you would just be working hard your whole life for nothing. That is the system we live in. That's the society we live in. That's the world we live in. The social construct that's above all of us. It doesn't matter how hard you work. At the end of the day, it's who you know. So even back then, in 1800s, when he was writing this book, anybody couldn't just walk up and just go in there and just say, I'm gonna be the head of the church. I'm gonna be doing all of this. Because you get paid. Being the head of the church back then, like, you get paid. There was a salary. There's social credibility. There's clout. There's a lot of things that come to it. That's why most of the leaders in the black community back then came from the church. Celebrities, entertainers, everything came from the church. The church produced all of that. And who controlled it? We didn't control it. The community didn't control it. The community has never controlled the church.
These churches support a small publishing house in the city, which issues a weekly paper. They do some charitable work, but not much. There are 3 Presbyterian churches in the city. Central Church is the oldest of these churches and has an interesting history. It represents a withdrawal from the first African Presbyterian Church in 1844. The congregation first worshipped at 8th and Carpenter Street, and in 1845 purchased a lot at 9th and Lombard, where they still meet in a quiet and respectable house of worship. Their 430 members include some of the oldest and most respectable Negro families of the city. Probably if the white Presbyterians had given more encouragement to Negroes, this denomination would have absorbed the best elements of the colored population. They seem, however, to have shown some desire to be rid of the black, or at least not to increase their Negro membership in Philadelphia to any great extent. Central Church is more nearly a simple religious organization than most churches. It listens to able servants, but does little outside its own doors. Berean Church is the work of one man and is an institutional church. It was formerly a mission of Central Church and now owns a fine piece of property bought by donations contributed by whites and Negroes, but chiefly by the former. The conception of the work and its carrying out, however, is due to Negroes. This church conducts a successful building and loan association a kindergarten, a medical dispensary, and a seaside home, besides the numerous church societies. Probably no church in the city except the Episcopal Church of the Crucifixion is doing so much for the social betterment of Negroes. The First African is the oldest colored church of this denomination in the city. The Episcopal Church has, for Negro congregations, two independent churches, two churches dependent on white parishes, and four missions and Sunday schools. Statistics of three of these are given in the table on page 218. The Episcopal churches receive more outside help than others and also do more general mission and rescue work. They hold $150,000 worth of property, have 900 to 1,000 members, and an annual income of $7,000 to $8,000. They represent all grades of the colored population. The oldest of the churches is St. Thomas. Next comes the Church of the Crucifixion, over 50 years old and perhaps the most effective church organization in the city for benevolence and rescue work. It has been built up virtually by one Negro, a man of sincerity and culture and of peculiar energy. This church carries on regular church work at Bainbridge and 8th and at two branch missions. It helps in the Fresh Air Fund, has an ICE mission, a vacation school of 35 children, and a parish visitor. It makes in a special feature of good music with one or two courses of university extension lectures are held here each year, and there is a large beneficial society in active operation and a home for the homeless on Lombard Street. The church especially reaches at the class of neglected poor whom the other colored churches shun or forget, and for whom there is little fellowship in white churches. The rector says of this work, quote, as I look back over nearly 20 years of labor in one parish, I see a great deal to be devoutly thankful for. Here are people struggling from the beginning of one year to another without ever having what can be called the necessaries of life. God alone knows what a real struggle life is to them. Many of them must always be moving on because they cannot pay the rent or meet other obligations.
Like, you know what that sounds like? That sounds like where I live at. Only 30% of the people here own homes. Yo, we live in a city, over 350,000 people live here. Only 30% out of that 350,000 own their own homes. So everybody else is transient. It's people always moving, can barely pay rent, living basically from month to month, paycheck to paycheck. Yo, that's what we're going through now. That's the society we're in now. And most of these people don't go to church. Most of the people in this community don't go to church, don't participate in the church. Like, they may say they're Christian, but nobody really goes to church out here. Keeping it real. And the church really don't invest in those people because they don't have no money to give the church. Remember, I told you the church is a business. They need to get money coming in. And they're not going to people that don't have no money. So the conditions that he's talking about, I see them right now. Right now in my city. I don't know where you at. Where you at listening to this. But does the same conditions persist wherever you live at?
Life. God alone knows what a real struggle life is to them. Many of them must always be moving on because they cannot pay the rent or meet other obligations. Quote, I have just visited a family of 4, mother and 3 children. The mother is too sick to work. The eldest girl will work when she can find something to do. But the rent is due, and there is not a cent in the house. This is but a sample. How can such people support a church of their own? Too many such, religion often becomes doubly comforting. They see.
You know, and even that, like just what he just explained, like the mother is sick, the oldest daughter will work when she could get job, whatever. So like, what are the jobs? What do people like that in today's world? What do they really do? How do you really survive? This is how you have prostitution. This reality is what produces prostitution. What they be calling it, sex trafficking, on whatever, trafficking women, whatever terms they come up with. These are the conditions that produces that. If people are able to take care of themselves, able to sustain themselves, can afford living, they're not going out there to sell themselves. It's basic. They're not going out there. But when you have conditions like this, where people don't know how they're going to pay the rent, how they're going to keep a roof over their eyes, that's what causes dysfunctions in most of our families out here. It all boils back down to money, the class struggle. That's why our families can't be whole. That's why we can't keep our families together. You can't have morals and ethics and all of that when you're living around just hopelessness. Then you have people participating in underground economies to be able to stay alive. None of this is new. When the conditions are like this, this is what they produce. Drug dealers, pimp, thieves, chain snatchers, prostitution. This is what capitalism, what imperialism breeds. This is like the products of this society. And as Panthers, we're supposed to be highlighting the contradictions. We're supposed to be showing like, yo, this is what it does. This is what capitalism does. This is what imperialism does. These landlords, this poison water, the poison air, the education system, as woeful as it is. This is what imperialism/capitalism produces. We must try something else. We have to do something else.
Amen.
Go ahead.
This is something that was also discussed in our political education class in the speech, Anywhere There's Power, Where There's People by Fred Hampton. He calls it a sick society. And he said we're living in a sick society right now. And basically, socialism, communism, Pantherism is the cure.
No, all power to the people. It is the cure. The opposite of what they're doing now. Communism is not individualism. Commune, to come together, people come together. Commune. Socialism. Not one person get all the spoils. We all get a piece of the work that we're doing. You have to go the opposite. But where else are you going to go where they're explaining and breaking down capitalism like this? Everywhere else you're going to go in the society, even if they call themselves revolutionary, they call themselves left, they're all by and large preaching, maintaining the status quo. All of them. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you after this. Because they talk the rhetoric, they say it, they act like they know, but at the end of the day, their solution is the same. To participate in the social construct of politics. Because if you're here, you should be smarter than most people. What is politics? Politics is the struggle for resources. Politics is not going to vote. Going to vote is what is going to vote? Going to vote is not politics itself. It is a process. It is a process. You're just processed through. You're just going through the process of going to vote in elections that you need millions and billions to be able to be part of. But if you're in our class and you don't have millions and billions, can you really participate in that system? Can you really? And then if you cannot participate in that system, how can we call that system democratic or fair? It's just simple logic. But at the end of the day, that's where they're going to tell you to go. The intellectuals, the celebrities, the politicians, all the people in the society that they give credibility and awarded platforms, they're going to tell you to go vote, to participate in this rigged system. The same system that in one breath, one sentence, they're telling you is rigged. And then at the end of the sentence, they're telling you, you must get these people to do reforms. The same people in the rigged system. They rig it so they can exploit you. But those people, those are the ones you want to do reform to save you. It makes absolutely no sense at all.
Feeds eagerly on the promises of a life where these earthly distresses will be forever absent. Quote, if the other half only knew how this half is living, how hard and dreary and often hopeless life is, the members of the more favored half would gladly help to do all they could to have the gospel freely preached to those whose lives are so devoid of earthly comforts. Quote, 20 or $30,000, and that is not much, safely invested, would enable the parish to do a work that ought to be done and yet is not being done at present. The poor could then have the gospel preached to them in a way that it is not now being preached. End quote.
In other words, they invested like $20,000, whatever. They could build institutions to liberate the people. They could build institutions to serve the people, to meet the people's basic needs. But they're not doing that. Why are they not doing that? Because they're a business and they're trying to make money. They're not there to bring those people up in that community, to change their condition. They're there to tell them when you die, you're gonna go to heaven. Everything's gonna be different when you die. The Catholic Church has in the last decade made great progress in its work among Negroes and is determined to do much in the future. Its chief hold upon the colored people is its comparative lack of discrimination. Before you even go on, that's what the Catholic Church has done, because you heard him. This is what he's saying. The Catholic Church is doing much better. They're doing all this work with the black people. What has the Catholic Church done, other than Epstein a whole bunch of generations since then? What has the Catholic Church done? I'm in Newark, New Jersey. We on the ground. Yo, there's nobody more on the ground than we on the ground. I'm talking about like people, activists on the ground, like feeding people, going to people's houses, bringing them groceries, helping them find a place to stay, doing pig patrols in our community. There's nobody else. We don't know anybody else that's doing that work in our community. Not the Catholic Church. I don't see them. I haven't seen the Catholic Church in Newark doing none of that. None of that. But this is what Du Bois is telling us. So now in 2026, he wrote that in 1896. We can look back now and be like, bro, nah, that's not it either. The Catholic Church is not it either. And then we've even learned that the Catholic Church was part of enslaving people. What is it, the papal bull or whatever they put together, what that the church put together back then to justify going to Africa to go steal other human beings and turn them into commodity. But these are the people, the institutions that these traders, these class traders, will tell us will come and do and aid us. When they know these churches, these people will do nothing of the sort, because that's not what they're here for. And Du Bois is just not any other person. If you hear from the beginning, I done told you where he got educated from. He done went all over. Yo, back then, Germany was supposed to be like the greatest. What they be saying on what you call it, Rick and Morty. Oh my God, what's the term he be using? But anyway, but back then Germany, that was the top, the height of intellectualism was Germany. That's where he went to school at. A black man left America after he graduated from, I think, Harvard and whatever, went to all this, and then he ended up out in Germany, went to school in Germany, studied in Germany, and then came back. And you telling me a nigger in Newark, New Jersey that went to Essex County College and Keene University knows more than him? Would have understood socialism better than him? He knew. He understood, but he was getting paid. He was getting paid to do what he was doing. So he was rationalizing his studies, was rationalizing the evidence and the things that he got. And he said what the people that paid him wanted him to say. That's the only thing I could see that makes sense of what he was saying back then. Because none of it makes sense. There is one Catholic church in the city signed, especially for Negro work. St. Peter Clavers at 12th and Lombard, formerly a Presbyterian church, recently a parish house has been added. The priest in charge estimates that 400 or 500 Negroes regularly attend Catholic churches in various parts of the city. The Mary Drexel Home for Colored Orphans
is a Catholic institution near the city which is doing much work. The Catholic Church can do more than any other agency in humanizing the intense prejudice of many of the working class against the Negro, and signs of this influence are manifested in some quarters. We have thus somewhat in detail reviewed the work of chief churches. There are beside these continually springing up and dying a host of little noisy missions, which represent older and more demonstrative worship. A description of one applies nearly to all. Take, for instance, one in the slums of the Fifth Ward. Quote, the tablet in the gable of this little church bears the date 1837. For 60 years it has stood and done its work in the narrow lane. What its history has been all this time it is difficult to find out, for no records are on hand, and no one is here to tell the tale. Quote, the few last months of the old order was something like this. It was in the hands of a Negro congregation. Several visits were paid to the church, and generally a dozen people were found there. After a discourse by a very illiterate preacher, hymns were sung, having many repetitions of senseless sentiments and exciting cadences. It took about an hour to work up the congregation to a fervor aimed at. When this was reached, a remarkable scene presented itself. The whole congregation pressed forward to an open space before the pulpit and formed a ring. The most excitable of their number entered the ring, and with clapping of the hands and contortions led the devotions. Those forming the ring joined in the clapping of the hands and wild and loud singing, frequently springing into the air and shouting loudly. As the devotion proceeded, most of the worshippers took off their coats and vests and hung them on the pegs on the wall. This continued for hours until all were completely exhausted and some had fainted and been stowed away on the benches or the pulpit platform. This was the order of things at the close of 60 years' history. When this congregation vacated the church, they did so stealthily, under cover of darkness, removed furniture not their own, including the pulpit, and left bills unpaid. End quote. There are dozens of such little missions in various parts of Philadelphia, led by wandering preachers. They are survivals of the methods of worship in Africa and the West Indies. In some of the larger churches, noise and excitement attend the services, especially at the time of revival or in prayer meetings. For the most part, however, these customs are dying away. To recapitulate, we have in Philadelphia 55 Negro churches with 12,845 members, owning $907,729 worth of property, with an annual income of at least $94,968.
If Megabyte was here, I will ask Megabyte to round that up. That's a couple of millions that these churches had at their disposal. Remember, and this was the freemen. They were not trying to, go do all of this to go free people that were enslaved. They did not do that. That's not what these churches do. That's not what they did. These churches did not organize the people to go liberate other black people. Nah, that's not what they did. They used that money just like the pastors and preachers of today use that money. And they used their influence to support the power structure in the society back then just as they do today.
And these represent the organized efforts of the race better than any other organization. Second to them, however, come the secret and benevolent society, which we now consider.
So according to Du Bois back then, the churches were like the number one source of governmental help that we saw as a space that we could get anything done, even though they did nothing. But these were the first managers of our community, the churches. Then he's going to go into them secret societies, the what they call the Freemasons, the Sigma Phi, Gamma Foot, whatever they call themselves. He about to go into all those secret societies that really belong to people in certain classes. It wasn't for the masses of the people. It wasn't for the masses of us on the plantation suffering in slavery. Because remember, this stuff he's talking about is for freed men, people that were free, not those of the masses of people that were in slavery. That's not who they were talking about. So how do those people that were in slavery, how do they liberate themselves? How do they free themselves? Because he's telling you these churches what their purpose were. What is the purpose these churches served, who they served. They didn't serve the masses of the people. So what do we do? How do we liberate ourselves? As Panthers, we say you go inside the community and you organize the people. When we say organize the people, it means educating the people and also providing resources for the people. That's what we mean by organizing the people. By teaching them how to survive in the society. And who are the people? You want to know what? You fast forward from 1896 and you fast forward to the 1960s, 60-something years, 70-something years later. And then you got U.P. Newton, Bobby Seale, you got Fred Hampton, you got the Black Panther Party, you got Malcolm X. And they're telling us like, yeah, nah, this ain't gonna do it no more. The church ain't the way to do it no more. We don't believe in like going through the church, the system, going through the religious way, the religious path. Nah, we believe in science. We believe in studying, about understanding the conditions outside, understanding your reality, and then coming up with strategic plans to be able to liberate yourself from the reality you're dealing with, which is education. First, educate yourself. They're organized to build institutions that serve you. See, like, there's no secret here. We're not waiting, just talking, and then at the end, for like 2 seconds, we be like, yo, this is the synopsis of what you do, which is going to go vote. Nah, I'm telling you, every second, every time I get a chance, I'm telling you how you actually do this. First, you educate yourself. You see, it sounds easy, but it's hard because people don't want to study. People think they know everything. They don't want to study nothing. They believe how they feel is justified. It's analysis. How they feel is an analysis. How you feel is not an analysis. It's
or
not
their opinions.
Yeah,
their opinion.
My opinion. Your opinion don't mean nothing. I don't care about your opinion. You're really talking. I don't even like to talk to people that give me their opinions. Give me your analysis. What you have studied and you understand it and you can help me. You can teach me. I don't care about your opinion. I don't want to know your opinion. I don't want to know if you like apples or you like oranges. I don't care. What does that have to do with me? I want your analysis. Analysis means you sat down, you studied, you weighed the pros and cons, you studied this person, you studied that person, you see all the evidence, and you're like, yeah, this makes sense right here. It adds up. Not just give me your opinion on how you feel. I don't talk to people. I don't want to call you to hear your opinion. Keeping it a buck with you. I don't have time for that. This is, I don't know my boy Ibrahim here. This is Ibrahim's favorite person. I'm joking, of course. I don't see him here today. I'm joking. But this is Jared Ball. He did an interview with his brother. His name is going to pop up on the screen. I don't know him either. But his name is going to pop up on the screen. But they're talking about the issues. Everything that he was just talking about, they're talking about it in this car. Like, what do we do? What do we do? How do we change the condition outside? So let me put it on. And like I said, I want us to have a conversation about this. I don't want to be the one just talking. So after I play this video, hopefully somebody want to talk, want to tell me what they think. So please pay attention. There's a few of us in here. Let's talk.
I'm already familiar with your work. Let's just start with the broad question of what is the work that you do? Like, what is this? What is your race, policy, housing, economics, but how do you describe your work and where you fit in all of that?
Sure. So, as a researcher, I really like to focus on 20th.
That's it. He just told you what he do. He's a researcher. That's what he does. He's not a revolutionary. He's not an activist. He's a researcher. And most academics, because both of them are academics. He works for Jared Ball worked for, I think, Morgan, Yo, I keep telling Berkeley to come. Berkeley don't show up. Yo, we got a comrade that goes to school where he teaches at. Berkeley. I mean, he's an academic. And this guy's an academic too. I don't know if he's going to mention what school he teaches at. But they, by and large, are part of the system. They're part of the system that socializes people to be what the society needs them to be. They are academics in this system. And we must understand that and see them for what they are. Because at the end of the day, their duty is to protect the system, whether they want to accept it or believe it or not. But you can hear it in their analysis. So he asked him, what do you do? I'm a researcher. I'm not out there feeding nobody. I'm not out there organizing the community. I'm not building no institutions in the community. I'm not doing none of that. I'm a researcher. I write books. I put the books out so those people that's suffering, if they want to know how they're suffering, why they're suffering, they can come read my books. That's what we do as academics. They do as academics. I mean, and it's not me throwing shade on them. It's keeping it a buck. He just asked him, explain what you do. And he told him.
As a researcher, I really like to focus on 20th century politics and culture. I do work in the United States and increasingly in the Caribbean and wider black world. I have a lot of interests that have to deal with the meeting place of politics and culture and economics, and particularly the kinds of pressure that capitalism places on people to make certain decisions, how institutions are oftentimes run by very consistent economic interests.
You already said about how what capitalism places on people, like not being able to afford rent. Like that family that was living in the house that Du Bois was talking about, the mother is sick, she can't work, the daughter can work when she can, but they still got to pay rent. They still got to pay rent. What the system puts on people, what capitalism, imperialism, the reality it puts on people. Because when we were born into this world, we didn't come into this world to owe anybody nothing, to have to pay anybody nothing. But capitalism puts a tab on you that you must pay. And when you're not able to pay, people have to do what they need to do to be able to survive, keep a roof over their heads. That's why they call it underground economies. People participate in underground economies. And that's what he was talking about just now. So he do the research on why people have to, what people do or what they have to do when they meet with the reality of capitalism.
Not already from the work and
Sure. So, as a researcher, I really like to focus on 20th century politics and culture. I do work in the United States and increasingly in the Caribbean and wider black world. I have a lot of interests that have to deal with the meeting place of politics and culture and economics, and particularly the kinds of pressure that capitalism places on people to make certain decisions, how institutions are oftentimes run by very consistent economic interests, and really thinking a lot about how people's political imaginations get formed relative to geographic pressures, social pressures, family aspirations, and so forth. So I tend to write in a way that tries to balance economic, political, and cultural considerations, always with an eye on the work that race is doing to really complicate how people are even conceptualizing what's possible.
So I'm mostly familiar in terms of your...
Notice how he said what race is doing. Did you notice that? What race is doing. But wait to the end and see what his solution is. What people should do on all the pressures and stuff that capitalism is putting on them. Wait till you hear what he said about that. If anybody, General Secretary, any hands up? You muted.
One second. Yeah. 1 second. Give me 1 second. No hands are up.
Nothing in the chat?
Nothing in the chat.
Hey, I'm going to keep on going, and I ain't mad at y'all. Let's go.
Right. And the realities of policy playing a role more than individual or community behavior economically in determining who has what and how much.
Right.
And so you have, somewhere behind the scenes pointed me in many directions that I still have to keep following up on in terms of the breadth of the history of black economists or black activists trying to find ways out of these economic inequality,
Right.
Conditions of economic inequality. You put me on to and help, link up with Marissa Baradaran.
Right.
His work, I think, it continues to be instrumental in just dismantling these myths. So in part one, so in terms of the segue, I wanted to ask you to say a few words about how your work specifically in terms of policy and housing
Right.
relates to policy and economics.
Yeah.
And some of what you've talked to me about in terms of the history of black people trying to find ways of saying, okay, even if we buy into any aspect of these capitalist mythologies about what we can do to improve our communities, we keep running into these obstacles, or we just have to fully abandon them as myths.
Right.
Anyway, so that was my attempt at this segue to say, there is this policy, broader public policy, that has more to say about segregated housing and segregated economies, and then the specific segue point is where Baradaran talks about how you can't have, because you were talking about how even within black communities suffering Jim Crow, there were arguments for the benefit of this,
right,
helping black communities.
Right.
You had black businesses, black business.
Right.
But as Baradaran points out, you can't make these comparisons, and you can't have, or she says you can segregate people, but you cannot segregate money.
Right.
And that in a segregated economy, even where you have black businesses and black institutions, the money that they're dealing with isn't enough to develop the wealth that you have when you're disconnected from the broader white economy, which is, of course, the biggest problem facing black segregated reality.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I said a whole lot.
Before he go ahead and he answer, let me address what he just said. I'm gonna start back to what Huey P. Newton said. Huey P. Newton said you got to organize your community, how your community is constituted. He said we have to work intercommunally because there are no nation states anymore. In other words, the government don't belong to the people. Wherever you're at, whatever country you're in, wherever space you're in, the government do not serve the people. The government serves imperialism. It serves the oligarchs. So Huey P. said we have to work in our communities. So in our communities, it may not be all black people there. And most of our communities, it's not all black people anymore because they've made sure to segregate it, to bring other people in there, to mix it up, to get more confusion in there. So when you're organizing, it is not a black thing. It is a people thing. The people that live in those communities are where the power is at. You cannot organize with just black people because I couldn't organize with these two black people right here. Number one, they'll think we too stupid. We don't know what we're talking about because they're on a whole different level. They're on a different class. They don't live in our communities. They don't live in our hoods. They live in the suburbs in proximity to white people, the people in their tax bracket. Remember, I told you, Jerry Ball worked at a university. I think he's the leader of a whole department there in the university. He's not living in the ghetto, in the hood. He's not in the hood trying to uplift the people in the hood, trying to liberate the people in the hood, put institutions in the hood to liberate the people, use that mind, everything he knows. He's not in the hood doing that. He's taking, because that's him. His wife working somewhere, I don't know where she work at, but she's working somewhere too, where she's making a decent amount of money. You put both of their paycheck together, they're probably making over 200 and some thousand, almost 300,000. They're not living in the hood. So to them, those of us in the hood, we not even qualified to even speak on our conditions. You have to go get their masters, their doctorates, and then you're qualified to speak. Remember how Du Bois said about the church, anybody can't just go in there? Like they pick and choose the people that go in there. It's the same thing with them. You can't even have a conversation with them because they think they're so smart. They're smarter than you. There's nothing you could say. And then when you show them that you're actually smarter than them, they'll move the goalposts. And they keep changing. And at the end, they'll admit to you, hey, yo, like I'm good. I'm not trying to struggle. I went to school. I got all these student loans so I could move my family out the hood. I'm not going back in the hood. I'm not living in the hood. I'm not struggling with the people in the hood. I'm going to go do my research and write my books. This is how they be coming.
trying to go on a segue. If you find any threads in there, please pull them.
Yeah.
And let's keep going.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, so the thing that I think is really important is to think about these things. And Mercer does a really great job with this, right?
Yeah, there goes his name right there, Dr. Nathan Connolly. That's who he is. Doctor. See that? Dr. Nathan Connolly. But
you want to work on black buying power, to think about these things as narratives, right? You have to begin these discussions with a discussion of the language that you like to use, which I find really compelling, of propaganda, right? Or just, I think of bedtime stories, right? These constant recurring narratives about how one goes about securing emancipation and getting free. And capitalism, contrary to what we imagine oftentimes on the academic left, capitalism is always a part of these formulations in some significant degree, because most people are like, look, we don't have the means to have armed revolutionary struggle. We're not going to necessarily be able to sustain anything beyond helping to maximize and build communities through the market logics that we've already been given. So most people are going through their day-to-day lives trying to find ways to build what they can from these capitalist arrangements and relationships, right? So if you think about the 19th century or 18th century relative to chattel slavery, the 20th century relative to housing, we ought not be surprised when you see people working within these various economic arrangements to try to then create these niches of black autonomy and self-determination, right? The problem is that the game is rigged, right? So in the case of housing, you have African Americans who are looking to secure home ownership.
The game is rigged. Who rigged the game? I mean, listen to what he's saying. He's saying our people are basically conditioned to try to solve our reality through these institutions that they have created, that the people that have rigged the game have created. What is the institution that academics have created? Where the institution that this smart black people, the ones with all these platforms that are able to lead university departments, where's the institution that they have created to teach the people not to think the way how the capitalist system has them thinking? There are none. They have not organized and come together to put these institutions in our community. So we say we must do it ourselves. I argue we must do it ourselves, because if you speak to them, they don't consider themselves in the bourgeois class, the petty bourgeois class. They will consider themselves as probably like the lumpy. They will act as if they're the one out here suffering. They really act like they're not making enough money to survive out here. That's what they will act like. If you talk to them, they'll say like they live in paycheck to paycheck. As if I told you to go live in that community with them people. Instead of coming and organizing, building cooperative with your own people to try to help sustain your people and to grow the number of people that you pull out of poverty. That's not what they do. They go do research, they write books, and then they go sit down and they tell us what they read in the books, because we ain't read them books. So they go tell us what they read in the books and act like they're so smart and brilliant, but have no institutions. Have built no institutions to change the condition of the people. But then we're supposed to look at them like they're so smart. We're supposed to celebrate these academics.
In some cases, rental properties, and what many of them are constantly running up against is the fact that the minute that wealth begins to accumulate by virtue of equity that they're trying to pay into properties, by virtue of African Americans who are creating these constellations of institutions and networks and businesses, that white folk or other folks with the wherewithal recognize these as pools of capital, move in and then begin to exploit these various collectivities, right? So the story of Jim Crow segregation is not one simply about separation, but it's about separation under the umbrella of white domination and control, right? And so there's a sense among many African Americans that if we just get the separation part right, somehow then we'll be able to stop the white domination part. The problem is the white domination part is structural, right? And so whenever you think about...
It penetrates.
Oh, yeah, it penetrates.
You can't just say...
The white structural part that penetrates into our communities is done so because we won't separate and build our own institutions. How do you expect to separate? How do you expect them not to penetrate if even the words, the language that's coming out your mouth, the way how you think, if it all comes from the people that's oppressing you? How do you separate from that? How do you separate from any of that if you won't step away and build your own institutions? And he said something like 2 sentences prior that every time like the community comes together to build an institution, stuff like that, they come in. Yo, that's not the community building it. Those individual black people building it. And we need to get rid of that myth, that Black Wall Street myth that everybody's holding on to. Black Wall Street, Black Wall Street. Like we all they have nothing. It was some rich black people there that got their money from white people, and they owned the businesses, and they paid the black people just like they pay them today when they own businesses. Nothing. And when them white people got ready to come bomb those stores, all of that stuff there, you think the black poor people on the plantation, the ones that's been suffering, catching hell, you think they're going to go give up their bodies to protect the industries that this rich black people had built? I heard Claude Anderson talking one time, and he was talking about all the bus companies and stuff they had back then. And the person I was interviewing him was trying to get him to say, like, how come those bus companies did not support the people there? And by and large, his answer was because they were businesses. Just like other capitalist businesses. They're not there to support everybody. They're there to make money from the people. And it's like we haven't been taught that. We haven't had the institutions built that would teach us that.
To be safe enclave,
No.
blackness or whateverness.
Never that.
And think you're going to overcome this inability to.
You saw, like, just now he said, like, you get this enclave of black communities, and you think you're going to survive what's going on. No, you get an enclave of people power, the people that live in those communities. If the people that live in those communities start building their own schools, start creating their own economic sectors, how to make money, how to take care of themselves, how to feed themselves, separate from what the government, separate from going down to ShopRite, going down to Extra. They're able to start to organize and put stuff in the community that's going to be able to take care of them. They don't need an overarching institutional structure to govern them, because they govern themselves. And that's their enclave. But notice what he's doing. He's saying like that can't exist, and then he put the black to it. Because when you say black, he just like it's nationalistic, like black people by themselves can't do all of this stuff. Like you can't do this, and which is true. Which is true. Just trying to organize black people. Huey P. Newton said that in the 60s and 70s. You can't. When I talk about capitalism reanalyzed from Huey P. Newton said, no, you got to go into the community and see what the community consisted of. Huey P. Newton said they grew. Their mindset as Panthers grew from being nationalistic to internationalist. We already solved this already decades ago. You see, but notice what he's doing. Because he's not stupid. He's keeping it narrow, just black people. Because he understands if you just go to just black people to try to change the condition, you can't. Black people are not even the majority in most of these communities. Most of the communities we're in, black people are not the majority no more. I'm in North New Jersey. It used to be Chocolate City. It ain't majority black no more. So if you want to organize that community and you understand we're in a class struggle, you're organizing everybody in that community that's catching hell, not just black people. I mean, but they be slick with it. They be slick with it. That's what they learned in college.
Blackness or whateverness.
Also, Chairman.
I think you're going to overcome.
Go ahead.
Oh my God! I think I lost my point. But yeah, not just black people, because like you said, it's a class struggle. Not the bourgeoisie black people ain't trying to get down with the poor black people to do anything because it's against their class. And he knows that because he's in that class of the bourgeoisie, the black misleadership class, and he's basically talking this to protect himself because the people gonna realize sooner or later that these folks are their enemy too.
And they are. By and large, they are. If you want to keep it real analytic. Like some of the first people that Castro said he had to go after when they liberate Cuba was the academics.
this inability to isolate, to overcome.
Right. So people are very good, and this is actually some of my more recent work now that I'm doing, trying to write a really intimate look at what happens when very well-meaning people of African descent migrate from the Caribbean to Europe, from Europe to North America, from in various corners of the United States. Wherever Black folk decide to migrate, there's pretty soon thereafter a recognition that there's a market there, right? That you can find ways to extract high profit margins by way of either durable goods, by way of rents, by way of other kinds of exploitation, certainly, fleecing and underground economies, right? There's a real recognition, frankly, that like wherever two Black people are gathered, therein is a market, right? And so I think part of what happens, and this is where Mercer's book is really, telling, is that these Black banks basically end up becoming these reservoirs for then predation later on, right? The Freedmen's Bank, as she explained, and as Abram Harris explained far earlier in the 1930s, right? That was a place where, all of the Black wealth in America was in this post-emancipation institution, and a series of white bankers were like, oh, look, we can now use this to buy junk railroad stock, which they did in 1873, right? Black banks in general are seen as being places where you can have larger Wall Street banks simply peddle their products in the confines of these Black communities, right? And so a lot of the so-called Black-owned banks are now subsidiaries of the bigger firms that are down in Wall Street, right, as we now know. And this is where Mercer's work is really compelling. For me, I think it's really...
And they're also, just simply put, trading in woefully limited pools of resources.
Right.
So when you're talking about people pooling their resources in Black banks, Black people don't have resources at the levels I think we're misguided into thinking we have, or propagandizing. So when you even try to do that, they're not the banks themselves, even if they were trying to do something progressive or revolutionary, even are not dealing with the levels of resources that would be required to overturn the inequality that exists.
Right.
And they're relatively small, as you were just pointing out before I interrupted you.
No.
These bigger Wall Street banks now.
Right. And that to me is one of the big lessons that needs to always come out of a close look at, say, race and political economy is like, look, it's big capital versus small capital, right? In most cases, it's almost never socialism versus capitalism. Like small capital versus
I'm losing brain cells listening to them because they're so contradictory. Like
from sentence to sentence.
Yes.
Once you know, you can hear the contradiction in what they're saying. But go ahead.
He's talking about how the Black banks, which is really ran under the white banks, and Black people don't even have enough resources to go and whatever the Black banks need to do to help in that way. Yeah, that's the whole point. If the Black banks are trying to be underneath a capitalist, imperialistic system, they're not there to help the people. They're not there to do anything but get more money. Same thing as the churches. Same thing as the Black misleadership class. None of this is to help the people. They know that. So, like, what is this conversation is about? Like, what are they trying to tell us?
You're at the end of the day, they're going to talk about everything, all the issues that we're dealing with, everything that Du Bois was talking about, how the system is rigged, how we need to organize ourselves, but they're going to bring you right back. They're going to bring you right back. Go ahead. Somebody trying to say something?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
So we hear a lot of misinformation about, there's $2 trillion in the Black community. Hello?
No, we hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, about the amount of wealth that's in the Black community, and people will say, well, they buy Jordans and they buy this and they buy that. And the reality is, based on what they're saying right now, is most of Black people's income or wealth goes directly to paying into the system, whether it's rent, whether it's food, whether it's whatever. So there's not an overwhelming majority of money that is left over to fund institutional building. Peace and blessings.
All power to the people. All power to the people. Yeah, there's no You saying, hold on, wait. Nah, cause I want to think about what you're saying right now. You're saying they're saying there's no money left over to fund our own institutions, right?
Basically, that's what they're getting at. That the illusion of black people getting together when the wealth just isn't there. A lot of people will quote these figures, these nominal figures that isn't reality, when most of our money goes towards just trying to live.
All power to the people. All power to the people.
Big capital, and that plays out the same way every single time, right? I mean, it's like a drum beat, and so in the absence
of Jay-Z line, big bank, little bank.
I'm gonna get back to what you said in a second, Mutar. I want to make sure they ain't talk about it first.
Of the plan, if there was ever going to be a move to fix any of this legitimately, that there has to be a political endeavor that.
Okay. Now, we're here now. If we're ever going to change any of this, all this reality that they're talking about, if we're going to change it, there has to be a political endeavor. And remember, politics is the struggle for resources, but that's not what they mean by politics. What they mean by politics is entering into the system that has been created by our oppressors, the slave masters, the oligarchs, the rich, entering into the system that they have created to maintain power. When he says a political solution, it's entering into that system to change our reality. Let's see where they go with this.
But whatever ism we want to call it, there has to be some sort of intentional, policy-driven redistribution of wealth or resources to overturn all this inequality. Right? I mean,
policy-driven to distribute and change all this inequality. He is not talking as if we are slaves, as if we're being oppressed, as if we have no ability to change anything. He's not talking as if the politicians are not accountable to us. Politicians are not accountable to us. They don't have to do anything we demand of them. And they haven't. This study's already been done already. Not opinions. Studies already been done from people from these Ivy League schools, from their Ivy League schools, that says what the public want is never, ever carried through by politicians. This is not what Africa's saying. This is what the studies that these academics have done. And now he's saying for us to change our conditions or adopt any isms, whatever, communism, whatever ism we want to adopt, what are the policies that's going to redistribute this money, the money that Bill Gates has? How are we going to redistribute Bill Gates' money with policies from that's implemented and put into this government, even though they have policies now and laws that they don't hold, that they hold nobody accountable to like right now. We're dealing with families that we help that are getting kicked out of their homes. They illegally double their rents. They're not supposed to double their rents. They illegally double them and throw those people into the streets. How many slumlords been to jail? How many slumlords been locked up? You can't hold these people accountable. All the politicians that corrupt the city, that poison the water, people working 2-3 jobs, everything going up, the price of everything going up. Schools not work, all this stuff, all the dysfunction we see in our community. You cannot hold none of these people accountable. There's no policy. Malcolm told you that too. You can't change none of this with policies. But this is the academic that's smarter than all of us. And what did he just say? The policies that are going to redistribute the money from the system. He's going right back into the system. Because first he tried to demean creating your own institutions by narrowly talking about only black people doing it, creating their own institution. To say like black people can't do that. Black people can't create their own institutions. So poo-poo on that, shit on that, and then go forward now, fast forward to how do we come up with policies. Because all you need to do is come up with policies to reform this system, to make it work for the people. You can't reform shit. You can't reform doodle.
But Chairman, he's also like auditioning for his own personal ambition because he writes policies. He's in academia. That's all they talk about. That's why the Defense Department gave Howard University some money so they could have a whole curriculum where they teach these kids to go and create freaking weapons to go overseas and kill more people. All these colleges, all these academia, they are supported by the government, and in turn, they write policies and studies and papers and all that stuff. These people are just auditioning because he's been in that same space. I don't know how far he's made it in at the university. He's probably a chair, but I'm pretty sure his career path, he wants to own that institution. He wants to lead that institution. And the way he gets there is to be what he is now and continue on that path. He's just a policy. Like, that's all they do is write all these policies they advocated for and wrote and freaking support has never helped the people. And it's people like him, these two sitting here. Like, they making me sick to my stomach.
No, I'm telling you, and I'll be sick to my stomach having to listen to them too. Because once you know and you understand, you see these people for what they are. These people are opportunists. And when you listen to them, you see that they're opportunists. I'm telling you, like, I listen to these people because I want to hear their arguments. I want to hear why they do nothing in the community, why they don't serve the people. You know what they do? They'll say, like, we're going to go see Mumia, and they'll talk about Mumia. They'll talk about this person locked up here, locked up there, to act like they're really doing something. Like, yeah, I talked to Mumia, I sent Mumia money. That's what you use your money for.
But they won't invite anybody like Mumia to the college to come speak to the students.
Well, yeah, that's out here. No, they won't. No, they will not. But they use Mumia for social credibility because he's locked up. Of course, who locked up won't take visitors, won't take money. Who locked up won't do that. But they won't do the real work that's needed to be done to free people like Mumia. They just use them as social credibility.
In other words, it can't just be an issue of agency, an issue of financial literacy. Right. I don't know, just choosing to be ignorant as opposed to being smart with our money.
Right. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I always find most striking when I go back and I read, writings from Victorian era black folk, right? So late 19th, early 20th century black folk who were saying in the high age of lynching in an era that's undeniably shaped by colonialism, segregation, white supremacy, they're basically saying that don't blame anybody else for your predicament, just manage your money, right? Behave ethically and morally, right? I mean, it's the exact same kinds of encouragements and admonitions and advices that people are getting of how to basically get free, right?
And it's the same underlying logic, which is understandable on this level, which is at least in part saying, I don't want to go into war with these people. I don't want any more conflict with these people that are lynching us and burning us and putting us on railways and all this other kind of stuff. I don't want. So if it's easier, I think, for people to say, focus on yourself, right? Focus on yourself. Focus on your own behavior, and don't worry about these white folks or the whoever, and just change your own behavior, and you will get better. And it's easy. I mean, it's that same curve that you get today.
Yeah.
And it's a way of avoiding a conflict.
Right.
That, however you want to look at it, is on some level necessary, political or otherwise. I think there needs to be some sort of change to the policy, the direction that is being taken here. And it isn't just about, at least for me, people's behavior.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, man, I think about, like, if the language is similar between Victorian era and this new Gilded Age that some are calling it, right? Then that to me is the first indication as a historian that the structures are actually probably similar as well.
The structures are probably still similar. The arguments that they're making, the arguments that they're making about going back into the institutions, coming up with parties, like coming up with policies, those are the same arguments that they're talking about.
that they're contradicting right now. The same argument they made in the Victorian age, the same black people that said, yo, don't worry about them, we don't want confrontation with these people, yo, just worry about yourself. Just pull up your pants. You know Don Lemon? Just pull up your pants, don't use the word nigger, pick up the trash in your community, and everything is going to be okay. That's the same thing that they're saying. That's the same thing that they're going to say. Even though they're talking now like they're talking down on that philosophy, on that idea, that way of seeing things, but that's the same thing that they're saying.
Right? That there's actually a lot more that's hemming people in that they might not be able to see or fully understand, but that's forcing them to make these kinds of arguments that, as you said, are conflict averse, that are outside of the realm of the political. Like our political process is actually so jammed up and so retractable that people consider political education to largely be a waste of time.
Right.
Right.
Our political process is so jammed up. This is not our political process. The electoral process is not our political process. Nothing that they do here that they call politics has anything to do with the people. It is all a social construct to control the people. There's no politics. Going to vote is not politics. Politics is the struggle for resources. And we're not struggling as a people, the mass of the people. We're not struggling for no resources. The resources are in the hands of one group, the rich. There's no struggle here. There's never been a struggle. So what they're saying don't make no sense.
Don't think about whether or not it's possible, say, for instance, that they got up the two-party structure. Like, that's considered to be crazy talk, right? Or to think about, for instance, people are now starting to bring back what has been, a very important and deep debate in this country around a job guarantee, a federal job guarantee, right? Let's actually make the federal government responsible for being that final level of security for those who are actively looking for work.
There's no constitutional guarantee to employment or housing or health care.
Right. But again, we're all supposed to be rational, self-maximizing individuals in this republic, right? Without basic, the needs being met much.
In this republic, what's a republic? Because they throw it out there, because they think the mass of the people won't catch it. A republic means the people pick a bunch of rich people that's going to be able to tell them how they should live, tell them, like, to govern them. That's what a republic is. Like, when they tell you America's a democracy, when they're talking here, acting like there's a democracy here where you can reform anything here, they slip out with the contradiction from sentence to sentence. If we're living in a republic, you cannot reform the republic. You cannot fix the republic because the power is in the hands of the rich, and the rich make decisions for the masses of the people. So they know what's going on. But listen to their solutions. These are the academics.
Of the time. And so that there's a contradiction there even between how we imagine the political process to work and whether we can support people enough to simply be discerning folk with their vote. But all this to say, man, I think that it's absolutely the case that you have to do a number of things now that are in the realm of the political that are about really basic public sector investments. Thinking about how much of our taxing and our tax structure goes to really in uncritical ways toward military spending and not towards social spending. And this is obviously an old talking point, but it actually has a connection in this earlier period where,
man, if we just saw somebody looking for change for some charity at a stoplight. The one main reason why, and I get this from a buddy of mine, I can't even claim this, but the main reason I don't give to these charities, to speak to this point about where the taxes go, is that all of us have already contributed to a $23 or so trillion GDP.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then that's about the amount of money.
You sound like Pam Bundy when she was talking about the Dow. I'm going to show you that, where Pam Bundy is talking about the Dow, because we're going to go to that after this. Listen to these people. We already pay into a GDP. You're a slave. That money insures. That's like a what you call it? Somebody on the plantation picking cotton, or a house nigger in the house, living in the attic or the basement, bringing massive food, talking about we paying into the economy already. How come it's not working for us? You're a buffoon.
Or telling a veteran or army person, we're proud of your service. I'm not proud you out there killing people for American imperialism. Like, cut that out.
These people are bozos. That's what they are. They're bozos. GDP. I don't pay money to the GDP when you're supposed to know. Yo, he teaches the Afrikaner studies. What is that? I think he teaches the Afrikaner studies at Morgan State. You a teacher. You don't understand these GDP. None of this has nothing to do with you. You don't pay it into that, so they should use that money to take care of the people that's starving. You don't understand that money that you pay, that the government making, that America's making, that these wealthy people are making, these taxes we paying, you don't understand that does nothing for the people? That our taxes don't mean nothing? Taxes without representation. You don't know none of that already by now? You see, but he was tell you, yeah, I know that. I do know that. But then he's still talking about these same systems as if they're valid.
That the Pentagon just admitted to having lost, quote unquote, lost since 1980.
Right.
Right? So there's all.
He's talking about the Pentagon. These are their institutions. He might as well be ADOS or FD, whatever they call themselves. Like they're not talking about building a whole different paradigm, institutions, separate institutions. They are talking about the institutions of white supremacy. These are the same people we are reading about in the Philadelphia Negro. These are the pastors and stuff that we're reading about. That's who they are. They could care less about anybody suffering in the hood. They're not going in the hood to do no work in the hood. I guarantee you they're not doing no work in the hood. The only time they come by the hood, because them universities may be around the hood. But after they get out of their jobs, they get in their cars and they go home to the suburbs. They're not in that hood doing any work. Prove me wrong, bro. But they can't prove me wrong because they're not.
There's money flying around, or what we hear about the 600 or 700 billion annual amount of taxes that big corporations like GE don't pay.
Right.
So in other words, the money has been generated. The resources have already been generated to take care of everything.
Oh yeah,
everything.
No question.
So I don't want to be asked to donate nothing to anybody because we have already contributed to all this money. So the question just is, for me, who's getting all that money?
Right.
And how does it get redistributed so that we don't have all of this? There's no reason for anybody to be suffering. We have already, anyway.
They don't sound like institutionalists. They don't sound like they belong to the system, that they're happy with the system, they're good with the system, that they think they can reform the system. That's what they are.
Chairman, they get that money. Himself, the university he works for, they get the money from the government, and that pays him to continue teaching our kids to support this imperialistic system. You, Ball, you are the one getting all this money.
All power to the people.
About the issue of voting and policy, and the way black people, but other groups, black people in particular, have tried to, or in Southern Florida, tried to participate in the system. And as I think you said something, it ended up participating in the development of the apartheid situation.
Right.
Could you explain that a little bit and how that might relate to other aspects of our lives in this country?
Sure. So, again, if you think about the fact that the Jim Crow era lasted, more than 70 years, right? You think about the generations of people and the kinds of work that went into maintaining a kind of white over black order after formal chattel slavery.
It lasted, Jim Crow, Jim Crow is basically separate but equal. Are you telling me we're not in Jim Crow right now in our communities? By and large, ain't no white people living in our community. Ain't no rich people living in our community. The average person in Newark, New Jersey makes, they say, about $30-something thousand, which we don't even believe. We believe is lower than that. There's segregation, but it's on class level. There's Jim Crow, but it's on the class level. The people that go to jail is poor people. The people that go to these useless schools, these horrible schools that teach nobody, is poor people. We still living under Jim Crow. You get on the bus, you drive by all the black schools that are poor, performing poorly, and you go all the way up to Livingston, you go all the way up to Shore Hills. Those schools, they behave different. Those communities behave different. We are still segregated. There's still Jim Crow here. Nothing has changed. But these people think because they live Because really, you got to understand them. They don't live in our communities. They don't deal with what we're dealing with. They really don't. They just look like us. People are still catching hell, yeah. I mean, and it's like they use race to try to identify with us, race and hip hop, to try to identify with black people in our communities, in the hood, the people suffering. They use race and stuff like that, but they don't identify with us. Because to them, Jim Crow was 70 years. It's over. There's no Jim Crow no more. We free. To them, we free. We is free. So we could just participate in voting.
That doesn't happen through simple, white oppression down on kind of unthinking, unmoving black masses, right? That there's in fact a relationship, an administrative relationship that develops, and largely what happens, at least in the context of the post emancipation world, is this idea that you can turn people who were once property into property owners, into self-maximizing and regulating individuals, right? And so a lot of African Americans, and again, parts of the wider black world, they take this as an opportunity to try to secure their own visions of freedom. And so for me, it's really important to say, with the way that Jim Crow was administered was by providing piecemeal promises about what was possible under capitalism and the so-called sanctity of private property as the bedrock of what black politics was going to basically be and do after bondage had occurred. And so you have people, obviously, most famously Booker T. Washington, Marcus Garvey, who are making ideas about black self-determination that are rooted in ideas about ownership, ideas in some cases about imperial expansion, sometimes colluding directly with imperial governments, in the case of the Tuskegee Institute, working to help it.
What do you think the schools that you're working with, you don't think you're colluding? You don't think you're colluding with your behavior where you're working at the institution you work in? You're not working in black institutions. You're not working in institutions that's uplifting the people. Your institutions you're working for are paid for by the government. The same government that you would call fascist in another conversation. That's the government that you serve on their checks. I guarantee you on their checks it says government. That's who's paying you. And they're acting like they can just separate themselves from reality. They're talking about, right now they're talking about Booker T. Washington, Marcus Garvey, and their ideas that was by and large really institutionalist. Like it was part of the same system that was oppressing people, private ownership. And since we're talking about that, here we don't believe in no private nothing. If we're going to own anything in the community, it belongs to the people in the community. We believe in cooperative. We believe in owning it together. Because nobody else is going to come down and do anything for us. We must do it together. We must pull our pennies together and do it together. That's the only way we're going to do it. And I'm going to say it again. If somebody got a better option, show it. What they're talking about is not a better option. Go into the government, getting money from the government, from rich white people, rich black people, rich whoever. That hasn't solved our issues. In fact, it's only made our issues worse. And just like he's talking now, he's saying, what is he saying? Oh man, let me get the term.
Minister programs in occupied Haiti, working in Togo, working in Cuba.
He's telling you where Booker T was working at in occupied Haiti. That's where Booker T was working for this government. He was putting his program in all them places for this government as a collaborator for this government. But these same people will tell you Booker T. Washington is a black hero, somebody we should celebrate. That's what they will tell you. Even though in this, they're telling you that he was working with this government to go to Haiti to try to oppress the people in Haiti too.
So much of that administrative African American history is really important for them understanding these connections between the colonized and post-colonized.
And that is not African American history. The behavior of those people is not African American history. Those are traitors. Traitors are not African American history. The crap they did was not for African Americans. It wasn't.
Era, because we still have, by and large, a series of promises about capitalism providing certain kinds of opportunity, the need to have black administrators to demonstrate some kind of legitimacy to these political systems. I mean, Jim Crow, many of the Southern politicians, people like George Smathers and John Stennis in Mississippi, they would argue that African Americans, in fact, wanted Jim Crow segregation. They would point to black doctors, black landlords, black physicians as these administrators of black life as evidence of the fact that this was a kind of collective massive, interracial political project, Jim Crow was. And I argue that, in fact, some of that is indeed true if you look at the ways in which people are moving community agendas in the interest of expanding black property rights, or of, in fact, increasing black-on-black policing. Law and order politics are a consistent drumbeat in black communities, really from the late 90s.
They're not talking about black. All those things is naming is identity politics. They're talking about individual black people, not black people owning or controlling that police force. The black people in those communities owning and controlling those police force. That's not what they're talking about. And when they say black businesses, they're talking about one Negro owning a business. Those are not black businesses. By and large, those are white businesses. Those are imperialist businesses. Those are capitalist businesses. Those are not of the people. None of that is of the people.
Through the mid-20th century. And so, a lot of these things that we attribute to backlash politics of a more recent vintage, in fact, are the stuff that made Jim Crow colonialism and colonialism more broadly possible in the first place. And so A World More Concrete is really about trying to illustrate that and looking at the many of the strange bedfellows that come as a result of these various administrative bargains and compromises.
Those black administrators that he was talking about that made it try to look like everybody could participate in the system, he's talking about themselves right now. That's who they are. They're the black people that they put in the spaces that's supposed to make it seem like black people have institutions, like we have black schools, we have NAACP, HBCUs. We have HBCUs that are doing this, that are doing those are not black schools. They're not teaching from a black perspective. Those are black faces. That's what it is. You have black faces in those places to be able to hide the face of imperialism. That's all it is.
If we know that that's the template, and you're still telling people create these small pockets of capital without actually changing the political procedures that make banking, what it is as a largely predatory endeavor, that make real estate, based on segregation and the belief that equity is somehow the way in which you're supposed to somehow secure a nest egg in the future, rather than investing in robust public sector institutions, having programs that are in place for education, helping people with nutrition, child care, and so forth. Like there's a way in which
they invest in none of that. These academics invest in none of that. They're saying the government should invest in these things. They're not saying they should go build institutions. They should go organize the people with their big brain and all those degrees, like Fred Hampton said, like a thermometer. All them degrees. They're not saying we're going to take our resources, we're going to take our mind and go inside the communities and build what he's talking about. They're saying Massa should build that stuff for us. That's what makes them collaborators, because they know better. Massa's never going to do that. And they know Massa's never going to do that. That's why they're not coming to fight with the people. They're not coming to serve the people. There's a line that they won't cross. They will stay on that other side because they refuse to commit class suicide. All this stuff they're doing right here is just using our suffering for credibility for themselves. It is not to change our condition. Let me see if he said that. I think he said in this.
By encouraging privatization as the model, you basically have created this landscape of small capitalists that are always going to be gobbled up by big capitalists, right? And so much of what I try to do is say, look, we tried a version of this, believe it or not, in the so-called high age of like Keynesian, centralized managed economy, great growth liberalism, all that stuff that we think of as being the place we have to now get back to in the post-1970s era. Like, let's get back to really good, solid mid-20th century liberalism. Like, that was the Jim Crow economy, right?
But who's saying that? What revolutionary organization is saying that? He's talking about the system. What the people that they give credibility that they think should be listened to, the politicians. These are who is saying the nonsense that they're spewing.
We have this weird pining for like the way in which you had governments that could manage resources, and they manage resources by driving interstates through black communities, by setting up various forms of asymmetrical policing, by creating obviously a dual set of institutions as the only way that most white Americans would even buy into the New Deal or buy into post-war growth was on a segregated basis, right? So all these things that the state helped to manage, which were, again, Jim Crow, pro-growth, displacement, that's kind of like not what we should be thinking about as the model for the 21st century economy, or so how the end of, what some are calling the neoliberal moment is to get back to an era of big centralized economic planning that was largely done at the behest of white interests in general, and certainly white capital in particular. And so I feel it's very important, as much as we are able, to really go back and revisit some of the older debates about, what exactly were the day-to-day compromises, existences, trade-offs that define the Jim Crow era, but then also, just to make a comparative point, what is it about the U.S. that is in fact a long been deeply colonial and very much connected to the international processes that were, hemming in the folks of the Caribbean, Latin America, Africa, and so forth. To me, it seems that there's a lot more possibility analytically, politically, and elsewhere in the conversation if we actually don't get caught up in a kind of, pining for mid-20th century liberalism and its various promises.
So, would you then
Yeah, I think that's the end of that. Yeah, so now they're talking about going to go do all of this stuff in the system, coming up with policies, and we argue that these people, you cannot control these people, that the entire system is corrupt. These are the people that are suppressing us. You have no ability. Let me say it again, because people may not understand. Us, the people, the masses of the people, we have no ability to dictate what these politicians or these administrators are doing. They are all corrupt. And if you don't know that by now, this Epstein file, whatever he called himself, this should be proving it to you. They like to say, everybody like to say, the Obama administration had no what? Had no what did he say? Had no scandals. The Obama administration had no scandals, even though they killed American citizens overseas illegally. They started wars, bombed people, killed people around the world illegally, overthrew the president of Libya, had him get killed in the streets, and somebody stuck a knife up his butt. But they say the Obama administration, remember Afghanistan, all of that, all those crimes they was committing over there, that was all under Obama. What's his name? Snowden. What the other one that was gay, I forgot his name. He turned into a man. All these people, not Reality Winner. There's another one. There was another one, whatever. But all of them were under Obama. Who?
Chelsea Manning.
Yeah, Chelsea Manning. All these people were under Obama. Who are these people? What did these people do? These people exposed the crimes of the government. And for that, Obama hunted them down. He hunted these people down and threw them away and locked them up, aside from killing presidents. But here, the Epstein file, when they opened it up, when Obama first came in, he used to say, we're going to make all these companies that don't pay taxes. I don't know if you remember. When we done, you could go Google it up on YouTube. You see it. I should have Googled it up and had some clips for y'all of him saying, we're going to go after these companies that's not paying taxes. Because that's what they always say. When they're running for office, they always tell the masses of the people, these companies don't pay no taxes. We're going to go after them and make sure they pay their fair share. But there were companies that they found that wasn't paying. And these companies were supposed to pay. Why Epstein broke a deal with some of these companies with the Obama administration for them not to pay. And Epstein got paid off too. Epstein got $20 million. It's in the emails. Got $20 million. And the company only had to pay $40 million, and they paid the lawyer, I think, $10 million. The person that did the let me play this. Listen to them. You see now, this is breaking points. These people are reactionary. These people are not revolutionaries. They're not Marxists. They're not Leninists. These are liberals / conservatives that are telling you the crimes that these people committed. Because everybody's been talking about one thing. They're talking about the children that they rape. Yes, that's bad. Yes, it's bad. The women that they rape, they trafficking. Yes, that's bad. You know what's also bad too? Maybe even worse? Bombing countries.
overthrowing presidents, starving countries of millions of people, killing millions of people.
Chairman, you know what's also bad too that we're gonna go more into next week is Jay-Z in the Epstein file. Not about the stupid crap with it's not stupid. It has nothing to do with women. Well, he has some women in there, but the fact that Jay-Z paid off or silenced the protesters around that Barclays Stadium, just like they bring Queen Latifah and Gina and them over here to buy property and gentrify us and price us out. Jay-Z went over there to Brooklyn with his 0.00001% stakeholding in that Barclays Stadium to pay off those protesters or silence them so they could build that and kick them families out of their homes. That's in the Epstein file. There's two white men discussing Jay-Z, how they were able to use him to silence these protesters, and all they really had to give him is that 0.000000001% stake that he sold off soon after that stadium was built.
Use our own. Use the same people that look like us to continue our exploitation. All these people in the Epstein file. So they tell you like Obama's not in the Epstein file, they're lying. What they're about to tell you is the Obama administration. Well, listen.
Put this up here on the screen. I had no idea about this. It says how the House of Rothschild became entangled with Epstein. What they specifically point to is that back in 2015, in December, after months of turmoil, the Swiss private bank owned by the Rothschild dynasty was closing in on a multi-million-dollar settlement with the U.S. Department of Justice for its part in helping rich Americans hide their assets.
I don't know if you remember that. I don't know if y'all remember that, but when Obama came in, remember this is 2015, so he's about to get out of office. He's been in office since 2008. And finally, in 2015, when he's about to get out of office, this is when they're finally holding these rich people that was hiding their money in Switzerland, not paying taxes. They finally, remember, because it was Occupy. Occupy was in 2010, 11, 12. Everybody was going crazy about Occupy. The rich must pay the 1%. And Obama like, I'm going to make these people pay. 2015, he about to leave out. Listen what he did.
Behind the scenes, the group's French chief, Ariane de Rothschild, had tasked Jeffrey Epstein and the lawyer he had introduced her to, Kathy Rumler, who you will all remember, former Obama White House official, deputy White House chief counsel, with closing the deal. Here's how the exchange went. 45 mio, question mark, as we casually throw around these numbers. Rothschild asked Epstein in December 2015. He replied, counting a $10 million fee for the lawyers and $25 million for him, quote, I think you will find all less than 80 pretty good. She responds, deep thanks for your help. Days later, this gets announced. The Department of Justice, literally just days later, puts out this announcement saying, Justice Department announces joint resolution with two banks under the Swiss bank program. The Department of Justice announced today that Edmond de Rothschild and Edmond de Rothschild S.A. have reached a joint resolution under the department's Swiss bank program. EDR Switzerland will pay a penalty of more than $45 million, make a complete disclosure of the cross-border activities, etc. There is no public reporting at the time.
That $45 million, that's what they talked about a couple of days prior. He's talking to the Rothschild, and Epstein is telling her, like, yeah, I'm going to hook it up. I'm going to talk to the people, whatever. Yo, it looked like he was talking to somebody in the Obama administration. The lawyer in the Obama administration, the Justice Department announces joint resolution with two banks under Swiss bank program. The program that they were supposed to take these banks. They were supposed to take them, push them under, take them out of business. But they negotiated. Not with somebody that we voted for, not somebody that's on political power. They negotiated with Epstein, and Epstein told them, yo, 80 million is going to be on below 80 million. 45 for y'all. I want 25 for me. I want 10 for the lawyer. 10, what lawyer? Her? Is it her? Well, she get 5, or she got 2, she got 3, Obama kept 7. How did that work out? How did that work out? Because they made the announcement. Remember, they said they're going to punish these banks. Punish these banks for everything they did. And this is what they actually did. This is not me making it up. This was put out by the Justice Department
to indicate Epstein's role. But you will remember here, we now have a deal brokered by a private Swiss bank, the Rothschild, I mean, literally one of the richest families in the history of Europe, who is working with Jeffrey Epstein days before and pays him $25 million, potentially for what reason? Not just Kathy Rumler, but maybe for the connection, finder's fee, some sort of influence, where he is able to negotiate this deal on behalf of this bank and the U.S. Department of Justice, to the point where you can all see it and go back and read. There's no mention of him. What role did he play? Who did he call? I mean, that, if anything, shows the extent of influence. That right there is true influence. A private Swiss bank, one of the richest people in Europe, who call you and they're like, hey man, $25 million for what? For a $45 million settlement? There's an announcement. You got to be pulling some serious strings to merit more than half of what the overall settlement is going to be, on top of the legal fees, which are already factoring in for this. What were they paying for? Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Nobody knows, but it was announced just like they said. Cool, 45 mil. Exactly what he was saying. 45 mil. This is how it's going to go. I can make sure that this all happened. I'm assuming you don't just get paid somebody $25 million for nothing. So that is a very, very significant one.
Yeah.
It shows his level of influence. Seriously, like who did he call and what was he able to do to secure something like this? Because they'll pay anything to make something like that go away.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you look at these emails, you see elaborate communication with Ariana de Rothschild. They clearly had a very friendly relationship where she's downplaying, the bank is downplaying at this point, et cetera. You can read their statements. But they were really chummy. She was asking for advice on what kinds of personal, messy matters that were going on within the family.
This is the government that we are in, where people can just pay. Like, we all know that already. Like, this is nothing new. Like, if you got enough money, you can pay your way out of it. You see, but we can have the cognitive dissonance, the thing you can use this same government, these same institutions to liberate yourself. You're lying to yourself. You're naive. You're clearly naive. I mean, like, they're telling you. They're showing you. They're showing you in emails and documents how these people manipulate this government. And you thinking if you just go to school, if you keep your nose clean, do what you're supposed to do, you're going to be all right. You're a fool. And anybody that's telling you that is a liar, and they're lying to you. We're not done. Like, and when you say at the end of the day, when we catch these people red-handed, we're going to hold them accountable. You're going to hold these people accountable. The community is going to hold these people accountable. Look, Congress called these people up. They call Bondi up there. They call it to come explain. Come explain what's going on. How come these people haven't been held accountable? How come you didn't talk to these people? You didn't talk to the victims? Like, what's going on? And just watch her attitude up there. These people look like they're going to be held accountable. You're an idiot if you think these people are going to be held accountable by the same system. None of these politicians are going to be held accountable. You can't hold them accountable in their system. The only way we hold them accountable is by walking away from this system and creating our own institutions. It's not hard. You walk. What do I mean by that? Let me make it in layman's terms. We walk away, we put our dollars together, and we start a homeschool. We put our dollars together, and we get a building, and we start a bigger school. We put our money together, we get a bigger school. We bring more people in, more people into the organization, more people in the community in. You can start to build your own schools. We already do paid patrols. We patrol our own communities. Nobody's paying us. You can patrol your own communities. If you organize a community, you can have individuals, separate, different individuals going outside every day, every night to walk in the community and police the community. It can be done. But you got to organize people towards that effort. That's not what's being done here. All we are told is to go work in the system and go support the system, vote for politicians in the system. You vote the right politician in. Watch Pam Bundy go up there to Congress and tell me if this is accountability.
Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche can't go off script, said that any victim that wants to speak with the department has done so, hopefully. Well, thanks to the incredibly brave people sitting here behind you, we can actually ask them if that's true. Now, would the survivors and victims who are here please stand up one more time? Just by show of hands, how many of you or your loved ones?
That's Pam Bundy right here. These are some of the people that were in that Epstein file, that were abused by Epstein. They're back here. She won't even turn around or even talk to them. Because you hear every politician say they're working for the people. They're here to serve the people. She is not even going to turn her back to even face these people.
Actually have met with the Department of Justice and provided testimony and estimate and evidence? None. And of those of you who have not met, which is everyone, how many of you have reached out either individually or through a lawyer or representative to offer to provide testimony and evidence? All of them. And of those all of you who have...
Does she look like she's worried? Does she look like she's worried of being held accountable? She like she could care less.
Reached out. How many of you were denied or ignored by the Department of Justice? All of them. And despite the shameful and despicable efforts by Ms. Bondi and her department to intimidate you, how many of you are still willing to speak to the Department of Justice? All of them. Well, Ms. Bondi, it looks like you have some more witnesses to talk. Expired.
That's on TikTok. You can just go on TikTok and find all of this stuff. All of it. None of it is a secret.
Secretary, I'm Attorney General. My apologies, I couldn't tell. Now, I've seen some of the unredacted Epstein files. Now, obviously, as you know, President Trump's name is all over them, but so are the names of other senior Trump officials. Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce, John Phelan, the Secretary of the Navy, and Stephen Feinberg, the Deputy Secretary of Defense. These men were appointed by President Trump to senior positions in his administration. All of them have clear and confirmed ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Attorney General Bondi, yes or no, has the Justice Department asked Secretary Lutnick about his ties to Epstein?
Secretary Lutnick has addressed those ties himself.
I'm asking you, has the Justice Department specifically asked Secretary Lutnick about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein?
He has addressed those ties himself.
Has the DOJ asked Secretary Phelan about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein?
I don't know whether he has addressed those or not.
Has the Deputy Secretary Feinberg talked to the Department of Justice about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein? Yes or no? Has the Department of Justice talked to Deputy Secretary Feinberg about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein, which are clearly spelled out in the files? It's a very simple question. It's not a trick question. I'm just asking you.
Yeah, I'm stunned that you want to continue talking about...
Oh, my gosh. Okay, I'm recording my time. I'm asking you not a trick question, a simple question. Okay, so what is clear is we have evidence.
You know who Chris Phelan is?
We have evidence that 3 senior officials within the Trump administration have ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And what I can conclude from what you are saying, men who've been exposed in the files have resigned their jobs in disgrace. And that's a good first start. And that same standard, standard should apply here. And Americans want accountability.
Who is Chris May?
Was the president aware? Please stop talking. It is not your time to ask questions. It is not your time. I'm reclaiming my time, Mr. Chair. 1 second.
Time belongs to the gentlelady from Vermont.
Was the president aware?
Yo, does she look like she's scared to you? Does she look like she's worried to you? Because these politicians, there's no checks and balances. There's absolutely nothing that's going to happen to her. Just like nothing happened to Colin Powell, for them lying to go kill people in Iraq. Nothing is going to happen to these people. They understand that the people that pay them, the people that they're working for, the millionaires, the billionaires that they're working for, will own this country, control everything. So all of this is just theater. So they could come up there, Congress summon you to come up here. You telling me Congress has no power to... Yo, when I go to court, they remanded me one time. The judge was like, remand him, take him in the back. I'm like, I don't give a damn. What you think, they ain't going to let me out? I'm going to get out sooner or later. Yo, you can't shut these people up. You can't hold them accountable for being disrespectful, being belligerent. Look at her. If Congress can't hold these people accountable, you think you... Because they always say it all the time. We're going to hold them accountable when we put them in office. You put them in, they don't do what we do, we're going to hold them accountable. You're not holding nothing accountable. And we're showing this so you can understand and get it through your thick skull that you cannot hold these people accountable. The only thing you could do is organize in the community to walk away from their institutions. That's all you could do. What you laughing at, General Secretary?
Aware of Secretary Lutnick's ties to Epstein when he chose him to lead the Department of Commerce. Was he aware?
Chris Malin was a Border Patrol agent.
Okay, so I'm going to conclude that the president, in fact, did know about his ties because he was the next door neighbor.
Shame on you.
Oh, for goodness sakes. This is pathetic. This is pathetic, Mr. Chair. I'm not asking trick questions here. The American people have a right to know the answers to this. These are senior officials in the Trump administration.
Yeah, whenever anybody tells you you can hold these politicians or these officials accountable, just remember this. If she's talking to the Congress like this, how you think she look at you? How she look at the masses of the people, the average citizen? This is how she talk to them. Don't even have to answer their question. Just lie in front of them. Nobody's holding these people in contempt of anything, because this is all kangaroo court. All this stuff is a scam. They're all frauds. Both sides of the aisle of frauds. You got Democrats, you got Republicans. Both of them work for rich people. They're not gonna hold them accountable because they understand that the Republicans will bring them up and hold them accountable too. So they're gonna be holding each other accountable, locking each other up. They've already cut deals not to lock each other up. That's why the president can have 35, 36, whatever felonies he got, and still be president. They already cut a deal. You can't lock up the president. They cut deals already. While we sitting here talking about we need to come up with policies. What policy is she going to uphold? But that's the conversations we're having. Where do we go from here? What do we do? We're saying go in the community, go to your neighbors, start to organize. Build organizations in your community. That's what we're saying. We have to take care of each other. We have to pull our resources together and put institutions in the community to serve us. The other argument is believing in the system. It's saying you're going to go change stuff in the system. You're going to come up with policies.
Secretary.
He's smirking.
Attorney General.
My apologies. I couldn't tell.
None of them asked Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing.
The Attorney General we're laughing about the rape of teenage girls, Joe.
Yeah, we're laughing because she's making a fool of herself.
This is Morning Joe. This is on MSNBC. This is not Africa speaking. The General Secretary was trying to get me to watch this stuff, and it's like I was so disgusted. I didn't even want to watch it because it's really proving everything that we already know. But there's no holding these people accountable. For her sitting up there and being so arrogant, being so disrespectful, it made my stomach turn. I don't want to see that. It's making fun of me. It's making fun of all of us. And you have Morning Joe up here saying, laughing at her, saying she's bugging. They're looking like she's a complete fool. They're calling her a fool. When Morning Joe is talking about the administration, talking about the government, and they're calling these people fools, Republican, you know something is up. You know something is up. You know something ain't right. I can't watch it no more. I can't put up with it. So I was telling you, I told the General Secretary, I don't even want to hear her voice. Because those people disgust me.
Full of herself.
She actually thinks,
brutally obvious.
She actually thinks that everybody's a 5-year-old in that room.
Mm-hmm.
She's exposed, making a fool of herself. The question is about young girls who have been raped, not about the S&P 500. The question is about people all around Donald Trump. I could list the names, those in government, those in his family, those around him that are all over the Epstein files. All over the Epstein files.
You catch somebody selling drug in the hood, they look through their phone, whoever they know, whoever they sold drugs to, whoever they got the drugs from, they start a whole, RICO. for somebody selling some weed in the hood. They start a whole RICO. Yo, they got foul shit that's exposing people all around the world. People in top government positions. And not one charge. Nobody's been charged of everything.
That's in America, but other countries.
No, other countries, they dealing with them. But here in America, nobody's going to court. They're not bringing charges up on nobody. But you look inside a phone, they catch a drug dealer, yo. They catch a drug dealer out there on the street, they go through his phone, they start going to go investigate everything. This little piece of crap police, pigs, will go through the phone and start going to everybody's mama house, kicking the door and doing all of that. They got all these files, and they're not investigating nobody. And you know why she's talking about the Dow and all of that? Because those are the people that she's trying to speak to. Those are the people that she's accountable to. The rich. Yo, y'all talking about this Epstein file. Look at the Dow. Look how much money we making. Look how much money we making under Trump. Look how much money all you rich people are making. That's what she's trying to say. That's the society that we in. That's where we at. That's where we at, yo. And that's it for the show for today. But all of it goes together. Yo, we started out with Du Bois. We listened to the Philadelphia Negro, and he's telling you how all this black managerial people here. And he's telling you how all these black managerial people are doing nothing to really serve the people. And then we go into listening to Jared Ball. He's an academic now. And we listen to them, and they're telling you at the end of the day that you got to create policies in the same system where nobody's held accountable. And he said earlier, the dude that he was speaking to, the professor he was speaking to, was talking about how the black professionals participated in these systems that were really like Jim Crow, like they helped to bring this reality about. That's what they're doing now. That's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. Let me see. I think my camera's not on. Yeah, I think I put it on. I think I got it on. I clicked it right here. No, but that's what they're talking about right now. Yeah, I still don't see it though. Mama, my camera on?
No.
Oh, did I cut it off? But yeah, man. Nah, that's what we're talking about. So this is the government. This government right here. This is the government that we're supposed to go change policies in. These are the public officials we're supposed to hold accountable. How do you hold these people accountable? How do you hold these public officials accountable? But yeah, but we done for today, man. If anybody got something, talk to me. How much longer we got of this of the Philadelphia Negro?
7 more chapters.
6, 7 more chapters. Yo, I'm almost done with it myself. I'm getting tired.
Finish the book?
Yeah, we got to finish the book. We can't do half of the book.
We did more than half. The guy is pissing me off, bro.
Yeah, he pissing me off too, but we got to finish the book. We got like 6, 7 more chapters, man. I'm ready to be done with that and move on to something else. But yeah, anybody got some? Talk to me, Muta. You got anything for me, Muta?
Peace and blessings. I just appreciate you guys for holding down the platform continuously week after week. And once again, it's a class struggle, damn it.
All power to the people. All power to the people. Anybody else want to say something before I start calling people out? William, talk to me, William Joyce. How you doing, William Joyce? All right, when you on mute, let me know, William. Who is Child Star? Child Star 972-480. You don't want to talk either? All right, Comrade Cam, you out there, Cam?
All power to the people.
All power to the people. How you doing, Cam?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, Chairman?
Outstanding. Anything you want to talk about, Cam, or you good?
No, I wanted to say I appreciate, again, reiterating the importance of the power from within our community and bringing it back, bringing back the awareness of our power, bringing back the power to control the information coming into our communities, so that we have a real awareness and understanding of the way this world and this system and how we're being abused and how we can actually take our own power transform and change and turn our world and our communities and our lives into the lives and communities that we want, that we deserve to have. We don't really actually need to be indoctrinated. We don't need to listen to all the lies. We need to look right back into our own communities.
All power to the people, Cam. All power. You're becoming one of my favorites already, Cam. What up? Hey, Rodrigo, you there?
I'm here, Comrade Chairman.
Yeah. How you doing? How you doing, Rod?
I'm good. This is a very, very good podcast. But going back to the two academics that were talking about their views and their thoughts, I find it interesting because they're researchers by trade. But I was wondering the whole time, like, who hires them and for what reason? Where exactly does that information, like who receives this information, and does that information on all the research they do benefit the community? Of course, we already know that that's a negative, but it's just interesting to know that they are basically mercenaries to any company willing to pay them for their research, so they can even implement laws against the communities based on that information.
All power to the people. All power to the people. I'm trying to see if Love is in here. I mean, but we going out to Philly today. When we get off this, we gotta get dressed, we gotta get ready, and we going out to Philly. So I'm gonna hit you, A-Rod, and see what Love is doing. I'm gonna call Love when we done. But we going out to Philly, man, because what we say, intercommunalism. All the work that we doing in our community, we doing this work here, but we joining with other communities. So we going out to Philly this to go see Paul. They're having a ceremony because I think somebody is being brought into the ranks out there. So they're having a ceremony at 7 o'clock. It's going to be an event. Ain't no work tomorrow, ain't no school tomorrow. So we're going to be out in Philly like around 6:30. 7 o'clock is the event. So, A-Rod, I'm going to hit you and let you know what's going on. But,
Word, let's speak on that.
Got you. Love, you here, Love? All right. So, look, man, that's it for today, man. All power to the people. I live for the people. I die for the people, man. See everybody next week.